Ready. Live.
Live. Welcome, gamers. It is PM in the PM with a little bit of a late start this evening. So, guess what? It is June the 16th, 2022. This is episode 30. We are coming off of Gamers Christmas. We had a couple more shows today from Square Enix and Capcom with a bunch of announcements. Not everybody happy about that. But before we get into the show, I got to start the show off with a little bit of serious business because one of our family, one of our extended family here, somebody that we all consider on Fun Speculations channel a friend, somebody who's friend to a lot of people in this community, is in a bad spot right now and needs everybody's thoughts, prayers, energy, whatever you believe in, whatever you feel, whatever you do to send good things somebody's way. Please, Assassin Lupa. I'm sure a lot of you in the chat right now have probably seen some of the posts. Boss Mod Lethal Papa, he sent out a public post about it after asking her husband if it was okay. Her husband, John, gave a brief update to Mav and some others in the community about what's happening with her. We knew she was going in for testing, but during the testing, supposedly, according to John, she had a stroke. They've got her sedated to try to bring down the brain swelling at this moment. So please, again, take a moment whenever you have the time over the next days. Every little bit helps. We did this with Spooky. Shout out to Spooky Sprocket, who is back in the community and doing well after his ridiculous ordeal that he had to go through. But we did this for him and it worked. Every little bit of energy, whether you believe it or not, does help. So please keep Assassin Lupa in your daily thoughts. Send some goodwill her way because she needs it right now. And again, if you don't know who Assassin Lupa is, if you've never run across her in a chat or seen her on a show, let me just tell you, she's not just a great part of this community and somebody we call friend here. She's just a ridiculously fantastic human being who does a lot for a lot of people and is an incredible personality and a big, gigantic heart. And she would do this for anybody else. So please do that for us. Mav, you got anything you want to add on Lupa?
I would just add that for those that don't know, this is something that she's been dealing with for a very, very, very long time. And if you've noticed, she's been absent at times before, it's been because of other situations. This one seems like reminds me of another time that a similar situation happened. She pulled through that last time, and I'm hoping for the best. I'm feeling like if we all send positive vibes, we can send them her way. That's be the best thing, right? I mean, she's a trooper. She's probably the strongest person with it. I don't want to go into too much detail because she's kept it secretive on purpose for a reason. That's why I didn't make a public post originally.
She's stubborn.
She is. Yeah, she's. I mean, incredible person. One of the strongest people I've ever met. Knowing what she deals with, and the positive attitude she has about it, and the way she goes about life still, and she just loves games, man. And I know like she would hate that she's missing everything that she missed, right? Of course, that's secondary now, but we just hope that I hope she gets back soon. I'm having high hopes, So that's the spirit that I want to put out there. You know what I mean? Confidence that she'll be back and some positive energy. So we miss you, Lupa. We can't wait till you get back, and I hope everybody sends some good thoughts your way.
Yeah, absolutely, Mav. Again, just a great reminder. Human beings shouldn't need reminders because we see too many things too often that should not let us take the next day for granted. But yet we still do. So please, again, real people. We're all real people here in this community. Again, some of us have found friendships, extended family through this community. It's just more than just gaming sometimes when it comes down to real life, and that's just the way it is. But it's a great reminder for everybody. So tell those closest to you that you love them. Anybody you haven't talked to in a long time, reach out because you never know what tomorrow brings. We always hope for the best, but you just never know. So again, just continued prayers, nothing but love for Lupa, sending it her way constantly throughout the day. She has been on my mind, thinking about it. So that's that. Again, that's the most important thing when it comes down to it. We can talk games all day long. We can have fun. We just came off of Gamers Christmas, but when real life intrudes, when real life comes into play, we got to talk about it a little bit, and we've got to get it out there because it's important. Like I said, the energy definitely helps, whether you believe it or not. The positive thoughts go a long way towards healing somebody and helping somebody through tough times. And she's not alone. We got a lot of people in this community in a lot of different situations. That's why I always remind people, when you're interacting with people here, you don't know what that other person's going through on the other side, right? Whether good, bad, or indifferent, you don't know. So just always keep that in the back of your skull. We're all humans here. So, but love you all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to that. And obviously, anybody who does take a moment to say a prayer or give a thought or send some healing energy your way, appreciate every single one of you that is here to do that. So, all right, Mav. PM in the PM. We are in episode 30. You just got done flying home because you had some stuff going on. You did get to see Top Gun, though, while you were waiting for your car servicing.
I got to ride in an Uber for the first time. I've done Uber before, several times, but I have gotten to ride in one for the first time. And the guy was jamming out to Despicable Me from the movie.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
First, it was Cry Me a River from Justin Timberlake, right?
Sounds like a time warp. Okay. All right.
And then followed by Despicable Me by Pharrell.
Wow. Okay.
It was interesting. Yeah. As I was cruising in his Ford Escape on the way to the on the way back to the dealership where I was waiting for my car to get work done. But yeah, man, I was running around like crazy today, dude. It's errand day, like get stuff done, like, hey, these things I've been putting off, like check A 1, 2, 3, 4, I just went and did everything because the car was taking so long. Realized I had enough time to go swing over and see a movie. Finally got to see that too. So I checked it off. That was on my to-do list as well. What a movie it was. Fantastic.
I gotta see it yet.
Yeah.
So.
It's a sequel done well. So especially like, what is it? 30, 40 years almost after the first one. I don't know. It's like the first one came out like 85, 86, something like that. Probably. I don't even know at this point.
Yeah. It was 85.
85.
I believe it was 85. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
it was 10. It was 85. Yep.
So this is like 37 years later. Absolutely insane, dude. I mean, it was really good though. I actually loved it. Besides that, man, I've been having an interesting past gaming week with all the gaming news going on as well. I was able to check out, the PlayStation Plus Premium stuff the other day.
Interesting.
I was able to play around on the Steam Deck as well.
Nice.
So I've been like kind of mixing around, playing on different stuff, and I've been pretty happy with all the different options we got. Tonight's going to be TMNT night. TMNT. Yeah,
yes,
I've been waiting for that for a long time. So I'm super happy about that. We'll be streaming that later tonight, guys, after the show sometime. But, man, what a past, 10 days or so it's been, I guess, something like that.
Well, it's been a week since we had Keely's show last Thursday, so it's been exactly a week. We were talking
a week.
About Keely's
okay,
show.
Wow. Yeah, it feels like a month. I don't know.
Well, we did talk about the state of play was the prior week, so we kind of had that included in there. So, but yeah, no, how much we actually had going on, it does feel like it's been almost 2 weeks worth of content, right?
Yeah, at least, man. It's been like thing after thing after thing, man. Well, how you been? I mean, I got to see you a lot this past week, but
yeah, you did. Yeah.
Other than that, things going good.
Yeah. Back to busy again. Last week I pushed things around, things that get put off because I wanted to be able to be, streaming and talking about this stuff. I did something. I lost count, but I think I had 13 or 14 shows that last week, and I know you were streaming nonstop, so it was crazy. But yeah, kind of getting back into the swing of things. Getting back to normal. Got to put in extra time at work now to kind of make up for what I kind of pushed away last week, but it's well worth it. Christmas was Christmas. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit here. Winners and losers of E3, not E3. But overall, if you're a gamer, if you didn't, out of all the shows, out of all the stuff announced, if you didn't find a handful of things that you were excited for, I honestly don't know what to tell you. I really don't. There is so many games coming. There is so many new IP coming. There's so many old IP coming back. Just hit after hit. Not every show was out of the park, obviously, but there was so much goodness. But yeah, as far as gaming goes, it's been a mixed bag this week. I've been in and out. Actually, Monday. Let's see, what was Monday? Monday. I think I just sat down and I think I didn't do anything. I think I literally sat there for like I had the Xbox on,
yeah,
and I was staring at my screen, but I literally didn't want to do anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna sit here in peace, not talking, not playing games. I'm just gonna sit here and chill out. But otherwise,
I get that, man. It's always I get what you mean by that, dude. It's like this is zone out time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like zone out, just freaking catch up, on yourself.
Right. Yeah, but I've watched the Starfield trailer, and I think I'm up to 14 times. I think the gameplay, in 4K. I think I'm up to about 14 times now. Again, that was and we'll talk about it. It was just bittersweet, as I knew it would be. It seems further away than ever right now. I've muted most of the discourse around it at this point. If somebody's out there talking nonsense, you're getting muted. I don't care what side of the platform you're on. I don't care. If you're going to talk some nonsense, some craziness, and not come with some facts or something to back up your statement about Starfield, you're done. You're muted. This is going to be my bubble. I don't care. I don't care. I don't.
I love it.
So yeah, otherwise, that's about it, man. Played some more. I have been rocking out on Inquisitor Warhammer, so I have been doing that. I'm almost level 25 now.
Geez,
I think I played through some missions in that. Did play some Diablo Immortal on the phone while I was laying in bed. I was rocking out on Diablo Immortal, and I know obviously the hubbub around that and how bad it is from a microtransaction standpoint, but again, gameplay wise, graphics wise, for playing it on my phone with my Razer Kishi, freaking amazing, bro. It's a Diablo game through and through. Having a great time with that as well. Yeah, that's all I could think of right now. I know I probably popped in, me, I'm grazing everywhere. So NBA 2K22 and that kind of stuff. I didn't play any Modern Warfare this week though. So yeah, no, that's been my week. Otherwise, just kind of getting, like I said, getting settled back in, letting the dust settle, getting my thoughts collected about everything that we saw, Mav. Again today, and we can kind of start here if you want to, Mav. I'm going to run through some people in the chat, all these amazing people that are already here. But again, today we had, we could start here and then roll into the big stuff. But, we had Square Enix show up, disappointed a lot of Xbox fans.
I didn't see 100% what happened with that because I was on the road. I just saw what Jasper was sharing with us, and I'm kind of confused about everything.
I'm gonna have to look up the full. I'm gonna have to look up the full list too of everything that went down there. But Xbox getting the leftovers as always from Square Enix is what it kind of comes down to at this point. I didn't expect anything more. Again, I've been all over Square Enix for a long time. You can go back and watch Living Split Screen. Last year they were on my shit list for how they're treating Xbox. But nothing changes. It's the same old Square Enix. But we did also have the Dragon's Dogma anniversary today, and me not being the biggest Final Fantasy fan, again, I feel for all of you out there, especially the Xbox only players who are going to get the short end of the stick on this Final Fantasy stuff. Look, Dragon's Dogma, underrated action RPG from Capcom that has slowly but surely gained in its notoriety as the years have gone by. 10 years in the waiting.
It's crazy it's been so long. It just feels like that game came out a few years ago, bro. I don't know.
It got lost because of Skyrim. It got lost because of Skyrim. It came out around the same time Skyrim did and just got completely lost, but a unique action RPG. They are going back to it. Officially announcing number 2 is in development right now, which is off the charts. I am so hyped, and they're making it in the RE engine, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But first of all, let me get to all these beautiful people in the chat. You guys are all amazing. You guys have been in so many streams. You guys have been listening to so much content. Man, you guys must have had 2-3 tabs up to catch everybody that was out here streaming like Mav every single day for the past week. It's been ridiculous. But you guys are here again Thursday night, PM of the PM, sitting down with me and Mav. And you're going to listen to some more talking. So I appreciate all of you. Love you all out here. So Vik The CLiCK, thank you, brother, for always jumping in here and saying what's up. Probably taking shots or at work, one of the two. That's what you always do. It's Timmy is in here. Marlesco, great to see you, my friend, as always. Brother, 3-Bit is in the house. Masshole 1977 coming in with the Celtics talk. All right, Masshole, I see you. Def Leppard is in here as well. One of my favorite bands from the 80s. Thank you very much, sir. Alvin, good to see you as always. Brother, Lore Master Jasper, actually, guy is in here. He says he's level 25 or 26 too on Inquisitor. You got to catch up there, man.
I do, man.
Siki is in the house as always. Thank you for dropping in here. Razor NZ, General Spartan 27, Andrew Cullinane, Talus RE is in here. Talus Ray, I should probably say. That's probably Talus Ray. Listen, who else we got in here? We got Mitchie Dies a Lot. Good to see you. I hope he keeps coming back, though. That's what I do hope. Let's see here. Boogeyman. Boogeyman is in the house. Boogie, always great to see you, sir. Kaitlin, the beautiful Kaitlin, is in here. Birthday girl from yesterday. I'm actually surprised, man, that she didn't make it birthday day number 2 today for you.
Yeah,
I really thought that she might do that because she's fancy. So she gets 2 days of her birthday. But no, great
it's
to
her
see
birthday
you,
week.
birthday girl. Yeah, it's her birthday week, all right. Shout out to my fellow Gemini, by the way. Shane, how you doing? Joe Dunmore is in the house. Joe, always good to see you, brother. Hopping in here as well. Death Lord Strong. Love that name. DLS. I like it, brother. All right, good to see you as well in here. Who else? Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody, actually, that's posted so far, unless I missed somebody else. Oh, we got Ghost Fixter in the house. We got Dark Zone 2525. Thank you guys so much for dropping in here as well. All right, Mav. Let's get going here. Let's do this. Let me see if I can find the Square Enix news real quick here, and we'll run through this since you really didn't hear about it. Let's see if I got one site that's going to give me everything. Or if they're just going to talk about 7 because that's the only thing that matters to people.
Yeah, I'm going back trying to look at the tweets and stuff because I wasn't able to watch. I was driving.
Okay, all right. So let's see. Okay, so all right. So they officially announced, first of all, they finally came out and admitted, which I think a lot of us knew, but I did see a lot of surprised people out there and actually some angry people as well, that Final Fantasy VII is going to be a trilogy now. They are going to stretch it all the way out to 3 games. So they finally came out and admitted that, right? So that was number 1, which again, I knew. That's why you always hear me say, don't talk to me about Final Fantasy VII Remake until it's a complete game. I don't care what anybody wants to tell me, they're not complete games. So once all 3 are out, we can start talking about playing it. So, but they're going to call the second one, they officially named it at this show, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And Rebirth, I believe, is going to be out 2023. Chat, tell me if I'm wrong. Yes, it will be released next winter in 2023. It will be for the PlayStation 5, okay, which we knew, nothing else. They did say Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first one, is now coming to Steam. Okay, so that's another announcement.
Yeah.
So Steam is getting it. Xbox, no. Switch, no. Okay, so that's when people really start getting upset. But then they tried to make it up to everybody, but everybody knows Square Enix's little tricks by now. And I see most people rejecting. I do see some people happy about it, but most people are rejecting this kind of peace offering, whatever you want to call it. Again, I call it leftovers. Anybody who tried to play Final Fantasy Crisis 7 Crisis Core, or okay, let's do the right name right. Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7 Reunion. on the PSP, it was janky as all get out. Okay, it was not good. I actually did play it on my PSP. It was janky. Okay, they are actually doing this, made from the ground up,
Okay.
in Unreal Engine. Okay, fine. Bringing it out this winter, Mav. This winter, out of the blue. It's coming this winter. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC, and the Switch.
Okay.
So they're giving Crisis Core to everybody. Okay?
Right. I never played Crisis Core to begin with, so that's one I missed out on. So I'm happy about giving it a shot, but I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't miss much.
I know that's why I didn't play it. So
yeah.
But it built up from the ground up. I wonder how true they're gonna stay, or if it's gonna be potentially a good game now.
Right. There's a chance here this could be a good game. Now I see a lot of Xbox fans out here already in the community, a lot of people that we know talking about never buying a Square Enix game again. Look, that's the decision you got to make. We've talked about this a bunch all the time. When exclusivity comes into play, we obviously know that Sony's been doing this forever. This is Sony's game plan.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great relationship with Square Enix. Square Enix has never been tight with Xbox ever. Okay. They've dabbled in Xbox. They've accepted Microsoft money in the past. But look, Sony obviously paid them a huge amount of money. My position on this was, again, I've been slamming Square Enix forever. Final Fantasy 14, there's no reason why that's not on an Xbox. That game prints money. That game is supporting all of Square Enix right now. Their servers are over capacity because of how many people have come over to play that game. Phil was on stage promising us that Final Fantasy 14 was coming to Xbox, which means he had those conversations. The directors from Final Fantasy 14 then came out and said, well, we don't have time. We're not going to put the resources into Xbox. Then they came back and said, well, we'll consider it. Look, Square Enix is a shitty ass company when it comes to this stuff. And in 2023, for a RPG maker as big as Square Enix, with arguably the biggest franchise in JRPG history in Final Fantasy, to freeze out Xbox at this point in 2023 is ridiculous. Now we are getting a title here, a title there, right? We're getting these one-off types of games. We got Octopath Traveler before PlayStation did, which was cool. That's awesome. But to not have mainline Final Fantasy games showing up on Xbox, I don't care what Sony's paying you right now, especially when we know the exclusivity deal was lifted. For you to go back and sign another deal with them, if that's what happened, that's wrong. If you are ignoring, if the exclusivity deal's up and you're still ignoring Xbox, bro, that's doubly wrong. Like, I don't agree with that at all. But this is the way of the world. It's always been this way. Certain games, you got to go buy certain consoles to play. I'm sorry. It's been that way since Sega Nintendo days. It is what it is. I kind of figured if I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was going to have to go buy a PlayStation. Like, that's kind of where I was at with it. Like, I was hoping, I had my fingers crossed. Again, not being the biggest Final Fantasy fan, it's not as big a hit to me as a lot of people. And again, I feel awful for all of you. I've waited this entire time for Persona to come to Xbox finally. Thank God they got that done. But Mav, when you hear about this and you hear about Xbox, once again, being on the outside looking in on Final Fantasy, again, arguably probably the biggest franchise in JRPG history. Bro, how does that make you feel? Do you think Square is in the wrong here? Is it just business? You know, do people just need to realize they got to go buy another console if they want to play it, just like everything else that's exclusive? What do you think, brother?
I think it's, I mean, I get why from like PlayStation's perspective. I don't know how much money they gave, you know, like, so that's a big factor into it. Like, we have to look at that. Square Enix has to accept that money. I think it's going to be harder and harder for those deals to go through because of this, because of the Xbox audience increasing, right, and the market share lowering. I was surprised that it's happened, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not crazy upset because I have a PlayStation. So just personally, for me, I'm like, okay, I can still play it, right? I'm a big Final Fantasy guy in the past. The remake is more in line with the kind of JRPGs I like, as opposed to like some of the other newer ones, you know? So I'm going to play it regardless, but I think about all the people that want to play this that won't have access to it, and that's where I say it sucks. On a franchise as big as this, you know, like, I don't know, it just kind of sucks ass. And Square Enix is the one taking that money, right? So we can criticize lots of different companies for doing these deals, right? And it's easy to blame PlayStation, but PlayStation is offered money and the companies are taking it, right? So then who do I look at is who to blame for these deals? It's the publishers themselves, right? It's Square Enix is accepting that deal. They could make this game, make a multi-plat if they wanted to, but that's not the deal that they made. They took the big fat check, or they just don't care to bring it to all the platforms and not get tons of more sales. So it doesn't. It made like I said, it makes sense from PlayStation's perspective. You know what I mean? I think
it's business. It's a move.
Square's obviously hasn't impressed me with a lot of their business decisions anyway. So
yeah,
why, like, this doesn't surprise me that they'd make such a dumb move again.
Yeah,
but, like, they didn't know how to run their Western division, so they ended up having to let them go. Right? They don't know how to market their Western games, so they had to let them go. They put the biggest games only on one platform, and then they complain about sales on everything when they do console exclusives and they do timed exclusives and all these things. So you can't like sit there and bitch about performance of your games and you're only putting them on one platform. That's just dumb. That's just dumb business sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, you don't realize you're cutting your audience in half. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that the Xbox audience for Final Fantasy VII would be an equal measure to PlayStation, but it gives an opportunity for them to grow an audience on Xbox. And that's another reason why it's just dumb. Like, you could look at, okay, well, here we have this whole user base of however many millions and millions of people. Xbox One sold 50 million. There's already about like 10, 12 million Xbox Series X's and S's out there. Plus you got PC, the cloud. Who knows exactly how big the Xbox ecosystem is, right?
Right.
So you're losing the opportunity to grow a fan base within a platform. That's even more valuable than just game sales in itself, because you're losing the opportunity to get people interested in your products. It's just boneheaded business, man. I just don't understand it. You know, like, again, for PlayStation, it makes sense. Square Enix is being dumbasses and taking that check and doing it, man. So I don't get it. However, like, that being said, I'm gonna play it regardless where I can play it. You know, I mean, I get it day one.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I will eventually play it. So, and I feel bad for everybody who wanted to. That's not gonna get to. You know. And the easy answer, well, just go get a PlayStation. Well, it's still hard to get one, right? And this one is only on PS5, right? Not even PS4 as well, right. I believe, right? So hopefully they get that sorted out by the time that this comes out, because you can't use that excuse anymore. Oh, just go get one. Well, it's fucking not there. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it just, I don't get it, man. It's Square needs to do better with their business decisions. And like, if I was running that company, like, I'm not a CEO. Maybe they're smarter than I am, but it just looks like you're losing opportunity. You know, like, you're just fucking losing opportunity, not just for this game sales, but if you want to make a Final Fantasy anything in the future, you're cutting off that fan base from even getting into it to begin with. The same thing with lots of different genres going to console, lots of different companies keeping something over on the one platform as opposed to the other. Oh, well, it's because that's where the fan base is. That's where we're going to release the games. Well, grow a fucking fan base on the other platform that has millions and millions of people. Like, it's just stupid, man. I just don't understand it. You're not going to grow a fan base if you don't fucking, like, even give them an opportunity. You know what I mean?
You have to cultivate. You have to cultivate.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
It's been cultivated on PlayStation since PS1 days, right? The Xbox was later into the game, right? They kind of got a little bit more kickstarted with the 360, abandoned again in the Xbox One generation. Now we see more and more coming over. And as Xbox is gaining market share, not just here in the US, but also in Japan, you're fucking just still going about business as usual, as if it was like fucking 1995. I don't understand the thinking behind it. It's dumb as hell. Square Enix needs to freaking learn how to do things, man. I just wanted to say. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. We've been on this train. Square Enix is terrible with some of their decisions. Again, we don't run multi-million-dollar companies here, me and Mav. Well, maybe Mav does, but I don't. So look, at the end of the day, we can see from afar, though, that their decisions have been awful. Like they killed off their Western teams by what they did, right? Right now, if they didn't have Final Fantasy 14, Square Enix would be in massive trouble. Square Enix would be in massive trouble. They are so lucky they got Final Fantasy 14 back on track and it became the juggernaut MMO that it is, because that is most of their income. Okay. That makes all the other games possible, including mainline Final Fantasy games. So they are very lucky that they have that. Again, cultivating an audience isn't easy. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't come without risk. I'm not going to sit here and try to say that the love for Japanese games on Xbox has the same fan base or the same level as on a PlayStation or Nintendo. Of course not. It's never been that way because people shied away from it because of the American company behind it, and Microsoft. So that's what happened. The original, back in the day when Xbox first launched, there was still a heavy stereotype against Western companies in the East. Like that was the old school. There still is to this day. And Shane, to your point, I saw you bring it up in chat that Sony's allowed to do this and Microsoft is not. Look, I said from the beginning, Microsoft may not be. I understand what you're saying because the press comes down. When they did it with Tomb Raider, instantaneously it was bombarding the devs. Now, when they did it with Persona, again, the Persona Atlas got bombarded with questions, making sure that it was coming to PlayStation for PS3 or for Persona 3 Portable and for Persona 4 Golden. They got bombarded in social media and from reporters trying to dig in because, of course, at the Xbox show, they're not going to showcase that it's on PlayStation, Switch, or whatever else. It's only on PlayStation. It's not even on Switch. On PlayStation, it's PC. So you're right from that standpoint, but I've always said that Phil and his team should have grown a backbone a long time ago and just continuously do it and just say, F it.
Yeah.
Take the heat. Take the heat. Don't matter.
Yep.
Don't care. Throw a finger up to the reporters and say, don't care. Don't care. This is business. This is how we're going to do it. But now with Game Pass, things have changed. Now with Game Pass, with their ecosystem, with their business model being completely different than it was with a console-only type generation, now that's different. And I think that what you do see that's not talked about is the Game Pass deals. And again, if you sit back and you take a broad view of the Game Pass deals that Microsoft does make, the games that come into Game Pass day and date from third parties, even if they're on other systems, whether it's PC, Switch, PlayStation, don't matter. Even if they're out there on those systems, they become instantly associated with Xbox. Like it's happened so many times over the past 2 years. Like it's ridiculous. Like people don't even think about those games on any other console the minute they're in Game Pass day and date. Sure, they get sales over there because people are playing over there. But what I'm saying is from a general view, when people talk about it, even when reporters report on it, the first thing they say, it's in Game Pass. It's automatically associated with Xbox. So that changes the game a little bit. They've circumvented that timed exclusivity a little bit, right? And they have done it with certain games, right? We saw that with the Medium. I think as Dust Falls is fully funded, right? So that's
it's published by Microsoft.
Yeah. So that's fully funded, but we've seen it with other third-party titles where they have done it that way. They have actually put in the money and they've gotten it out first for timed exclusivity. Stalker 2, that's going to be timed exclusive. So they are cutting their deals. But I wish that Microsoft would have gone after Final Fantasy VII, whatever it took, whatever. Again, there's certain franchises. I know people say, well, they're going to get that Microsoft extra charge because Square Enix knows Microsoft's position and they know that they've got trillions of dollars and they know they're going to charge them more. And Phil doesn't want to overpay for something. I think there's certain franchises where you just pay what you have to. I don't care. Like that's what I would do if I was Phil. I would never let Sony have Final Fantasy VII by it themselves ever. Like I would pay Square Enix to fund a Final Fantasy game to have it on my console. I'd pay them whatever it costs.
Yeah.
Just to do it. Because again, there's certain franchises that as much as we say Square Enix needs to cultivate a fan base, Xbox, for all those years where they couldn't get any JRPGs on this console, also has to do their part. And they are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing Xbox from the standpoint. Sarah, Phil, they're over in Japan nonstop. We're starting to see that. Again, the Persona series is huge. Kojima doing a cloud game for Xbox, gigantic. Okay, whatever people want to say about Kojima, these are moves that last gen Xbox would have no opportunity to make, but they're making them now. So I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is Xbox does at this point, if they want to cultivate their fans to understand that JRPGs are coming, they have to do their part. And that means overpaying sometimes for certain titles. I'm not saying everything, but certain titles. I can guarantee you they overpaid to get Dragon Quest on Xbox, and that was a hit. They need to keep doing that kind of stuff to get it here. Sega has a great relationship with Xbox right now, and we get the Yakuza series, which is not a JRPG. Well, Like a Dragon was a JRPG. I can call it that. It was a turn-based. It was awesome. But they've seen huge success with that here. That's all due to Xbox cultivating that partnership with Sega. But with Square Enix or somebody like that, you have to do a little bit more. Now they're getting close with Bandai Namco. They need to continue to prosper that relationship. Bandai Namco, actually right now, if you asked me which one I would rather work with, Bandai Namco on all future RPGs or Square Enix on all future RPGs, I say Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco is the up and coming kid. They are freaking killing it right now.
Yeah, they are.
Between Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, two of the best RPGs that come out in the past, probably almost decade. Two of the best RPGs that come out from Bandai Namco. Look, Bandai Namco is ripe. They don't have, obviously, that same feeling that Square Enix does towards Xbox. So that's the relationship I would cultivate, because they're the next big thing over in the East, I think, especially in Japan. I love what Bandai Namco's doing right now. So, but yeah, sad day. Again, I do feel for all the hardcore Final Fantasy fans that are only on Xbox. It's shitty. There's no other way to put it. It's shitty that this major franchise, this major remake of one of the most beloved games, and I always, like I said, I speak taking out my own personal feelings on this game. One of the most beloved games in the history of video games in Final Fantasy VII, and you don't put the remake on everything, it's shitty. And it's not good business practice. I don't agree with it. I understand taking the money, like Mav said, but when it comes to this game specifically, no, you put it out there for everybody. That's just how I feel. Again, we'll see this come up again. It's going to come up with the Sony fans when the next Fallout comes out, when the next Elder Scrolls comes out. Those series are well known everywhere, and if those become exclusive to Xbox, we're going to hear about it from the other side. The other side's not going to be happy. All those people saying they're overrated, Bethesda's, all the people ripping on Starfield right now. When those classic franchises of Fallout and Elder Scrolls come out, we're going to hear the same thing from that side as well. Why isn't it over here? This is wrong. And again, I understand. I really do. I feel for people locked down to one console. I really do. But that's why Xbox see, with Sony, you don't have the same opportunity to go play stuff like you do on Xbox, right, Mav? With Sony, you have to own a console. With Xbox, when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, bro, the technology, next 5 years, streaming directly from your TV off of an app with a controller. You can even play on your PlayStation controller, Bluetooth controller. You'll be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 without ever buying an Xbox console. You're not getting that from the Sony side. I have to own a Sony console. Yeah. Right?
Which is their still in between game right now, which is small potatoes compared to the in game, right? You know what I mean? It's like Jim Ryan sees that. He sees that you got to go beyond the console now, right? Because you're only going to get a certain amount of people to buy a $500 box. That's just the reality of it, you know, like that you're handicapping your potential revenue on sales and from audience growth, you know, and customer growing your customer base. So like if they want to grow beyond that, beyond the 150 million potential barrier that you got to get to the billions, which mobile has, right? Then you're going to go, at that point, you need to go to everything. Xbox is on the forefront of that. So that's why it's going to be harder for Sony to make these deals, though. I think it's going to end up costing them more and more money.
It will,
you know, because you got to look at it from a business perspective. Like, when a company's looking to do a game like this and choosing, oh, what platforms are going to put it on? Oh, Sony's offering us like $10 million to make it exclusive on their platform. You got to consider the losses you're going to take by not releasing it on the other, right? So it seemed like a lot of money up front, but if you're potentially losing out on 1 billion people, I mean, that's like not an easy decision, Nope. So whereas the last generation, you're pretty much comparing, oh, this console's got 100 million people on it and this console's got 50 million people on it. That seems like a pretty easy decision, especially early on when it was even less numbers, right? It's not going to be that way this generation. So that's why this one surprised me. Still, I'm curious what crazy contract they may have signed to begin with Sony regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake. If it was part of one big giant plan and it was a contract for all iterations of it already, who knows? Because I'm really surprised at it, to be honest with you, just based on knowing what they could be potentially losing out on. And I'd be even more surprised the next one. But, this one's, it's pretty crazy. So I don't know when the third one's going to come out. Probably, what has it been, 4 years? 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, right?
Yep.
So it'll be
4 next
it'll
year.
be 4. So what are you going to look at and see the next one probably in like what, 2030?
2030. Oh, no, wait, 2027.
2027.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
So, based on the amount of growth that Xbox is going to be having by then, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty crazy to think about the potential loss of sales. And that being said, you know what I mean? If you have a PlayStation, like play it on PlayStation, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be an amazing game. Like, I really like the other one. I thought it was excellent. It was weird how they did it because it's still really long. And it's like what they did is like taking like the first section of the first game and making it a big game in and of itself. So it's not like a true remake, you know what I mean? Where it's like they're just chopping it into 3 and reselling it. It's like taking what would have been like 10 hours and making it 30, making it way bigger, right? So actually, I mean, to be honest with you, the first game, I feel like in Final Fantasy VII back in the day, like you could get out of that area like in the first couple hours of playing, but they turned it out into like a full like 30-hour experience, So it's interesting that how they're doing it. I've never seen that done with a remake before. I think they just want to tell like the bigger story. I almost, in a way, I don't like it because like it separates itself so much that like you're not gonna get the same impact or same feeling that you got with the original game. But still a really good game regardless. It just feels like a different game. Yep.
It does. And again, it is what it is. Come talk to me when it's complete and then I'll talk about it.
Well, then you'd be looking at 100 hours to get through all of it.
Yeah, I know, right? Victor Alistine, yes. We kind of briefly touched on that as well. It could be Square Enix's decision at this point. It might not even be Sony at this point, right? It may just be Square Enix that exclusivity deals up because again, there is no deal in place for Final Fantasy 14. Zero deal in place for There's never been an exclusivity deal for Final Fantasy 14 ever. And they just refuse to put the resources into making one for Xbox. Again, a game that prints money. And legitimately, if you brought that to Xbox, I would say, as far as MMLs go, with the popularity of Final Fantasy, with the popularity that Final Fantasy 14 now has, with the talk that continuously happens around that game, you could expect 2 to 5 million people from the Xbox side of things to jump into that game. Don't tell me it's not worth your time. Do not tell me. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And it could even be more than that at the end of the day. And they still refuse to do it. That's on Square. Again, I've been all over Square for years now. 2023, these decisions just do not make sense. They might have made sense back in the day, but now absolutely don't make any sense to me. But that's why Square Enix is what it is. And like I said, without Final Fantasy 14, they'd be in some serious trouble. Serious trouble. Yeah. So the other good news, Mav, I don't know if you got any big opinions of Dragon's Dogma. I don't even know if you ever played Dragon's Dogma.
I have. I didn't beat it.
Okay. So, but you've got you know about the game, so you understand what it is.
Oh, 100%.
Dragon's Dogma was lost to a lot of people because it came out about the same time as Skyrim. Okay. got lost in shuffle. It was a Capcom RPG. Okay, Capcom hasn't really been known for their RPGs. Let's be real. Okay, so a lot of people, when Dragon's Dogma came out, kind of just dismissed it. And again, everybody was playing Skyrim. Like nobody was touching other RPGs at the time. So it got lost. And then they came out with Dark Arisen, which was kind of remake DLC kind of deal where they kind of fixed some stuff in the game. They came out with Dark Arisen, and all of a sudden everybody was done with Skyrim. And then some people started jumping into Capcom or into Dragon's Dogma, excuse me. And all of a sudden people started realizing how cool this game was, how unique of an action RPG. They brought in different components like the pawn system. The pawn system is one of the most unique systems. It's not like, oh my God, it's never been done like this before. I'm not saying that, but think about this. Back then, like we didn't see a lot of multiplayer stuff, especially when it came to RPGs, right? Wasn't a thing. They wanted to give us some way to have kind of that feeling. So they give you the ability to recruit pawns. Now, pawns are actual NPCs that are created by other people, whether you're friends or strangers, that you can rent. Okay? And when you paid money for them and those pawns were in your universe, hanging out with you, helping you battle and stuff, the other player, whoever's pawn that is, would get some gold, get some items out of it, right? It was this really cool system, right? It was really awesome. It made people want to have awesome pawns powered up and leveled up so that people would rent them out. It's an awesome, awesome idea. They also, this is the team also, for anybody who doesn't know, the designer is Yoichiro Ikeda. And he actually worked on Devil May Cry 2. Okay. And anybody who missed the Capcom show today, the 10th anniversary of Dragon's Dogma, their special little, it was like 15 minutes long. Go watch it because they actually have a sit down with all the original developers of Dragon's Dogma. And they kind of go through the history of how this came about. Really well done today by Capcom. Like I didn't think it was going to be anything because if you watch the Capcom show, it was like, okay, but this was well done, well produced. They, Ikeda was there talking about how all of this came about, what he was working at the time. They brought some of the other guys in to talk about it as well. But look, they went in and said, look, we can't just do a regular action RPG. We've got to make it a little bit different. So everybody was like, look, in RPGs, you always have these big giant monsters, but you're always just slashing at their legs. You're always just slashing at them. What if you can climb on top of them?
Right.
And so they brought some of that Devil May Cry, that attacking ability where you could actually grab on, you can climb up, you do stabbing moves and all that kind of stuff. Think Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is a great version of that where you can actually attach onto the monsters and do some special moves and stuff. You get different attacks. That's what they decided to go with. But they actually went to UK. They actually walked around to castles and the fields and got the feel of European high fantasy coming from Capcom of all places. Look, monster designs off the charts good. Off the charts. If you've never touched Dragon's Dogma, it's worth it. It's still only 30 frames, even backwards compatibility mode. Sorry. I wish it was 60. It's not. But you can download it on PC too, and you got mods and you can get up to 60. Steel's doing that right now as we speak, by the way. He picked it up on sale today. But it's a unique game. But that was 10 years ago, and the fan base grew and grew and grew and grew. And people have been clamoring for Dragon's Dogma to come back as one of those Capcom IP that has been sitting there collecting dust. So today was the 10th anniversary. They had the special deal. Again, they go back, talk about the past. The end of the show, really no build up. It's got Ikeda there and a couple other dudes, and they got zip up hoodies on. And they go, and we got one more thing for you guys. And then he just unzips his hoodie and opens it up, and there's Dragon's Dogma 2 t-shirt underneath. And he said, that's right. We're currently in development, and we'll talk more soon. And that's how they ended the show. But my God, 10 years of waiting, and it's going to be in the RE engine. Folks, this is going to be a gorgeous game. Gorgeous in the RE. Math. Think about Dragon's Dogma back then, right? It is dated. You go back and play it now, but you can see the creature designs are still really well done, really unique, awesome style. Think about that in RE engine, brother. Does it get you hyped, man?
It does, man. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Killinitis and Brutal Enigma for coming Speculators. I know Killinitis re-upped on that, and Brutal Enigma, I believe, is new to the membership there. shout out to both of you. Appreciate both of you as well. We have a lot of awesome people here, and I just got completely surprised by what Psychonauts just put in the chat. But besides that, Dragon's Dogma was a game that I was actually really interested in when it originally came out. I remember there was like a spider you rode on the back of and stuff, and like the way that you battled the monsters and stuff like that. It reminded me of it was like a JRPG, but it was like a Western JRPG. Right? That's
Right.
that's the vibe
From
I got.
Capcom.
Right. So it was like I was really intrigued. Like it felt like Japanese devs at their attempt at a Western RPG. You know what I mean? But it still had all the quirks and nuances that you love from JRPGs as well. A lot of them with like the dialogue and the way the characters kind of interact and the awesome stuff like that. So I got it. I didn't get super into it for the same reason, like Skyrim and other stuff was out at the time and things, but I remember being really intrigued by it. And I think I bought Dark Arisen too. Both times I got into them, but then I just kind of stopped playing. But I remember being like, wow, this is really graphically was really impressive. Mechanically was really impressive. The world was really impressive. Like really awesome things. And they've spawned this it's apparently clicked, you know what I mean? I mean, there's like a Netflix show and all this stuff
anime.
now. And I think it's kind of growing into a really big IP now. They've kind of cultivated that. And I've seen a lot of people excited today from the sequel announcement. I will be getting that day one, hands down, no doubt about it. RE engine. That's a gorgeous engine, dude. I don't know what they used originally. But I mean, this will be definitely a step. It was impressive to begin with, but do you know if it's updated to 60 frames or anything?
No, like I said, it's not. It's backwards compatible. You get auto HDR on it, but it's not. And you know, my LG OLED does up-res it. So it's still like from a res standpoint holds up. It's still decent.
30 frames or 60?
No, 30? It's 30. It's 30. Yeah, it's 30. So,
man, it would be nice if they'd announced a free update like the Resident Evil games did, you know, like with the
that I wish that was a part of it today, that they go back. I was gonna almost tweet at them and say, hey guys, can you do a patch please?
Did Dark Arisen ever get a Xbox One version, or was it just 360?
Nope, just 360.
Yeah, that's why. Then it's probably harder to go back and, you know, but man,
probably
it's crazy, man, out of left field, you know. I mean, we saw that Capcom show the other day, and we're like, oh, this thing is like, why? We kind of like frustrated, like, why are you going to separate this whole Dragon's Dogma thing out at this 10th anniversary celebration? Well, it turned out to be a pretty big reveal with that, and apparently, because you saw it, you said they did a really good job on it, so it seemed like it was worth it.
Yeah, it was well done. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So, I'm hyped for that, man. I can't wait for that game. Did they say 2023 or?
They haven't said anything. They just said it's in development, and we'll talk more later. So, but it sounded like they've been doing it for some time now. It's not like just in early stages from the way they were talking about it, like just the way they announced it and the way that he said it. It sounds like this is something that we're going to see, maybe not this year, but we'll see something next year on it for sure, I think. And it'll probably, you know, again, we'll find out. RE engine, it's gonna be a lot of work, obviously. You know, because that engine can push hardware, right? That engine is gorgeous. Again, the Resident Evil Village demo that I play, because I haven't even played the full game, but you know, I've heard from so many people saying, you know, Resident Evil Village is one of the best looking games, if not the best looking game so far on current gen. And from that demo, I believe it, man. So these guys with their hands on it, Akita is, again, the designs in that game, the monster designs, they took some classic styling but made it their own with a little bit of Eastern twist to it. It's just amazingly well done. And the story is really good. The story is actually a really good, captivating story. Again, the anime's out there. I actually kind of like the anime. Some people didn't. I didn't mind it. I actually watched it on Netflix and I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, man, shocking news. Again, it was in that leak, that Capcom leak from about a year and a half ago that we all saw. This was one of the games in there. So this gives me hope that Power Stone is in the works. This gives me hope that potentially Dino Crisis is in the works. I think Capcom's really hitting on all cylinders right now. Again, their show wasn't great, but Street Fighter 6 is looking to come back. I saw Hip Hop Gamer. Shout out to Hip Hop Gamer. Awesome, dude. Actually had pleasure of podcasting with him over on Lemon's channel, Dragons.
Yeah, nice.
Then, but he actually videotaped some off screen, actual fighting. He got a chance to play it, and he was videotaping the whole battle. That game looks phenomenal, even off screen from a camera, from a phone camera, back away from it. It still looks beautiful. So Street Fighter 6 is back. Obviously, we know Resident Evil's back. We're getting the Resident Evil 4 remake, which looks absolutely mind blowing at this point from what I've seen so far of RE4. Look, they are hitting on all cylinders. So if they're going to go back to their old IPs, I am all for it. Please.
Yeah. Cross our fingers. Lost Planet as well.
Yes, Lost Planet. Oh my god. Can you imagine Lost Planet current gen?
I know, man. That's what I keep thinking about, because like the game, the first two were pretty successful. The third one fell off, right?
Yeah. They tried to do this whole weird. I
I
got it. It's weird. I went back and started
playing. The third one didn't really click with people, right? But like, man, that IP had so much potential. It was a really cool game, right? I always wondered and think about like, what would that game be like today?
Right. The multiplayer was so gigantic in Japan.
Yeah.
Like when you logged it didn't necessarily get big here. Lost Planet was like one of those. It was a hit here, but it was like one of those not like in everybody's face kind of hits where everybody was talking about it. But so many people played Lost Planet. But when you'd hop in those online servers, it was all Japanese names, man. All Japanese names, and then a few American names interspersed here and there. But man, was it hardcore online. The sniping in that game, one of the few. That game and Bad Companies are the only two games that I could ever be good snipers in. That's why I loved it. Right. But you could hit people. You'd see a pixel move on your screen, and you were getting headshots. Man, that game. You remember that little coin sound that it did when you got the hit too?
Yeah.
It's like blink, blink. It was this very unique sound. Lost Planet would be great to bring back. Don't get me started, man.
Yeah.
Love that stuff.
So many great Capcom games, dude. Power Stone.
Power Stone, bro. It would, if they do it right, that could be an actual competitive fighting game in the mold of Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
If they do it right, one of those kind of unique, not standard fighters. But if you did it right, you could actually make it a Smash Brothers. It wouldn't be a clone by any stretch because it had its own stuff. But if they perfected it and they did it to the point where it was tight and it was the controls were spot on for competitive gameplay, that could be a highly competitive fighter, very different from anything else out there. Power Stone is special as well. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Power Stone so much, Mav.
I'll just say this too, just last little thing in Capcom. If Street Fighter 6 is successful, it gives me hope for a Marvel vs. Capcom, a new one.
Yes.
The last two, like one and didn't really click as well as the previous ones. I feel like they have a chance to do it better with this new take on Street Fighter, because they kind of use like what they made for Street Fighter, and they kind of use that, and they kind of like implement the systems and stuff. I think that this style of Street Fighter would definitely suit better for a Marvel vs. Capcom game. So just crossing my fingers, bring it back, and take me for a ride. Sorry.
I agree, Mav. All right. Well, we got the small news of today out of the way. Let's talk about Gamers Christmas, Mav. Past whatever you want to say, 2 weeks, you count state.
Yeah, I have no clue. It's a blur. It's a blur.
It is a blur. It is a blur, Mav. It is. I'm looking at my lists of games from each of the shows that I went through, and I didn't even go through all the shows. My God, man. Yes, there was some games that were showing 3-4 times during this week, but for the most part, we got nothing but a lot of new goodness, a lot of great updates on games we were expecting, all of that stuff. So, man, we talked about this in DMs a little bit. Winners and losers, man. Obviously, we're not going to go back and cover all this stuff. There's too much. We'd be here all night, and we don't have time for that. But let's talk about this. Let's go. How do you want to approach this, Mav? How do you want to approach? You want to go losers first? You just want to think of some losers that came out of this?
Yeah. Let's go for the losers. Right. You losers. You losers. You sucked this past week. You failed. Losers.
All right. we'll go back and forth here because I think we'll probably have some of the same ones, but we'll see. I'll do one and then you do one and then I'll do one and we'll come back and forth. We'll go back and forth on this. We'll volley it back and forth. We'll do a little volleyball action here.
Okay.
Let me start out. One of my biggest losers of gamers Christmas was EA, Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
Our one of our favorite companies out there. Ups and downs. Of course, we love Zampella, but they screwed up Battlefield. Of course, the sports side of things have been a mess for quite a while, even though they consistently sell no matter what they put out there. Obviously, Madden every year is huge. FIFA every year is huge. They are losing the FIFA license. But specifically for this week, Mav, we know that they have a lot of stuff in the works right now. They have some games in the pipeline. They are definitely not sitting on their laurels. We know that they've they still have some Star Wars games in development. Of course, we got the announcement of Jedi Survivor, which is great. But they did not show up at all this week, Mav.
Yeah.
They did not show up. I don't even think, and forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong, Mav. Their indie side, and for anybody who doesn't know, EA supports indies. They are really good at their indie side of things. Like they are big into that side. I don't think I saw one indie game being backed by EA throughout this whole entire week.
Yep.
Nothing, Mav. Nothing from EA. Nothing from Electronic Arts. And again, I'm not saying you got to come have a showcase, but you got some partnerships out here with Xbox. You're not going to announce the new Need for Speed and give us a glimpse, Mav, of the new Need for Speed that's supposedly close to coming out.
Yep.
From all the talk. You're not going to even mention Need for Speed during one of the biggest weeks for video games in general, even though this wasn't E3 week. You got a great partnership with Xbox, and you're not going to have a presence at any point saying, hey, Need for Speed is coming. I don't get it, man. I really don't. Maybe they have plans for later in the year, but again, all eyes on this week. More gamers are watching. People were covering it. Mainstream media was covering it nonstop. IGN had stuff going nonstop. Like, look, this is the time where you get some of those new titles out there. So I think EA was a big, big loser for not showing up, even with one or two games this week would have been great. Maybe a little bit more look at Jedi Survivor, which is coming out early next year.
Yeah.
Give us like 2-3 minutes of gameplay from Jedi Survivor. I know it's got to be there. So EA, big loser. Go ahead, Bap. You take that.
Yeah. That were a big loser for me too. I put out a tweet earlier. It's like, man, it'd be really nice to get some updates from EA from some of these games coming out. I listed a few of the games, but like radio silence over there, not a good time, especially after the year you've had with Battlefield, to just come out with radio silence, just saying. So my first loser is Halo. Where the fuck you at, Halo?
Good one, brother.
Halo, seriously, okay. Again, you're gonna see a theme, I think, from me and Pong on this about absentees being the losers here, right? It's like you got Microsoft's big show. And could be Microsoft's fault. It may not be 343's. I don't know. 343 made some other dumbass decisions this past week. That's kind of led to some issues at the studio and a lot of questions. But besides that, you're going to start off this whole thing without any stuff about Forge or co-op campaign. You put out there that the flight's going to be in July for co-op campaign. And this is June, and you don't use this as an opportunity to showcase it in any kind of way. You're not coming out there with any kind of updates or like fan base, like service type stuff, going like, hey, yeah, thanks for being patient with us. We're getting our feet under us. We're really getting going. Season 3 is going to be insane. Here's a little sizzle reel about what you could expect. Maybe like a tease of Forge or something. Like, man, it was just weird having Microsoft's, Xbox's flagship IP, the number one game, a lot for them, one that a lot of us are loving and playing right now, waiting for more content, to completely miss this show. And instead, we get updates on things like Sea of Thieves and Forza Horizon 5 and Grounded, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online. other games that are live service games and have these long-term plans, but nothing for Halo. That should be the first priority over all of them. Really, I mean, if it's their big daddy, their big flagship IP, I just was baffled, man. Like, no Halo. I didn't want them necessarily to be part of the first show because I anticipated it's going to be more update type announcements. But to have that second showcase and then instead you show more of those updates for those other games, and then you also have As Dusk Falls. No, nothing against As Dusk Falls, but this was the third time we've seen it. You know, you had Tribeca had shown it first. They had a long, drawn-out talk about it the day before the first Xbox showcase. Then you had the Xbox Bethesda showcase, and As Dusk Falls there, you also had the dev on the stage talking there. Another long, drawn-out presentation for As Dusk Falls. And then again on the second showcase, you had As Dusk Falls again there. Where was Halo? You know what I'm saying? So Halo. Losers for the week. More ways than one.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I didn't expect them in the main show, but the second show, for sure.
Like, I was shocked. Make any sense.
Dude. Yeah. I and then they get negative waves on, you know, a screw up. 343 screws up, and now they're in hot water for that. Man, we talked about this last year so much, and so many people, you know, we talked about it after the delay of Halo, originally Halo Infinite. We talked about again, from a bird's eye view, from not being in these meetings, from not being in anywhere near these companies, right? But just from afar, we talked about many times maybe that there was a management problem there, right? And that there was some internal issues that maybe needed to be cleaned up, that the things just seemed not at all steady over there at 343. And this stuff right here, Mav, just keeps pointing big red flags up in the air. Like, what is going on? What is going on? Like, did you guys literally, by the seat of your pants, get this game out the door after a year, and you literally had no roadmap, no direction as to what you were going to do to get this game into a good place without content? Like, nothing. Like, you,
yeah. Bro, you saw the Overwatch roadmap already, right?
Yeah. Yes. Again, everything's been laid out. So yeah, I would definitely agree with you. Definitely big losers this week for not showing up at all. Again, I didn't expect a big presence at all. I kind of expect they were going to lay low, but not to come up with something on the main stage or on the secondary show, just to say, hey, got a little surprise for you, folks. Just a little surprise. Here's what we've been working on.
Instead, like, we got a Pelican and Flight Sim, which was cool, but like,
right.
That ain't 343. We got more Halo content from fucking Asobo than we did from 343.
It ain't mainline. That's for dang sure. So no, I agree with you, man. That's for sure. This one's a little. I'm gonna say this one, and I know a lot of people agree with me on this one too, but this isn't. I go back and forth on this one, so this isn't like an all the way loser. But I'm gonna say Keighley in Summer Games Fest. I really am. I really look.
Loser.
I actually, yeah. No, I liked the show. We did have some surprises in the show, right? For the Thursday show. But I really expected Keighley to step up to the plate this year. Yeah. I really thought he was going to cement himself. Like, I thought that, like, the minute that E3 said that they weren't going to be, it was canceled this year, right? The minute that they said E3 was canceled, Keighley was right. He's an opportunist, okay? Again, whatever your personal feelings are about Keighley, I actually like the guy. I actually think he's good for the industry. I think he's pushed a lot of the spotlight into the industry by himself, by what he's done. And I know people absolutely 100% disagree with me, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody cannot deny the dude's an opportunist. Okay. He's a businessman. He's an opportunist. He knows how to take advantage of certain situations. The minute E3 canceled this year, he was on the spot within minutes on Twitter saying Summer Games Fest coming soon. He was right there. I thought this was a year where he was going to cement himself at this time of the year. He's already got the VGAs. Like that time, December is his. Okay. That's his deal. He's got that locked up. I still think there's room for another award show, maybe in the springtime. I still think this industry is big enough now where it could do two. But he's got that wrapped. He's got people lining up to get their stuff in the VGAs. I thought for sure this was the year that he locks it down. And even if E3 wanted to come back, which they are, they came out and said they're coming back next year. Even if they wanted to come back, that KhAoThEory was going to be sitting there going, good luck. Good luck. Everybody's already lining up for me. Good luck. Good luck getting all these people back again. And what we got out of a show was a good show, but it wasn't what
it
I
wasn't
was
E3.
It wasn't an E3 makeup at all. It wasn't even close. And I didn't expect him to take over the whole damn thing. There's too many shows, but I expected him to pull in some big, gigantic stuff.
It wasn't like a fraction of the Game Awards, to be honest with you.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, his big one was the Last of Us remake.
Yeah.
Which got leaked. I mean, it wasn't his fault. Sony leaked it, but it got leaked. That's your big ending. You don't have just one more thing, right? You don't have anything. You don't have Kojima's next game, Overdose, if that's not the Microsoft exclusive. If Overdose is a separate game, even though that kind of got leaked out, you don't have that as your one more thing. You've got Last of Us remake, and then you've got Drunkman up there with Troy Baker looking frazzled, taking shots at Sony, talking about factions, but showing one little artwork. like that's it, KhAoThEory. That's what you got for your big time, your big moment. It was your stage alone. E3 wasn't around. You had nothing else besides the Xbox Bethesda show cramping you, and you were actually they're partners of yours. That's what you've got. So yeah, I would say KhAoThEory did not live up to the opportunistic person that I think he is. I did not think that he took advantage of the situation well at all. Again, not in the room, not calling, making the phone calls, not sitting there with KhAoThEory, listening to the people on the other line. Maybe he couldn't get anybody, but then that makes me question a bit, what's the deal? Because the VGAs, everybody wants in on the VGAs. So
yeah,
I think KhAoThEory lost out this year. He had a really great opportunity to cement himself and he didn't. So that's my next
That's
one.
a really good one. I've been thinking the same thing. I've just been too chicken shit to say it, probably. But for real, like, I mean, his show was like a decent show, but it wasn't like there was nothing massive. There was nothing major, right? And the E3s and stuff, you know, we're used to getting major news. The only show that really had any of that was Xbox Bethesda Showcase. The other shows had some decent stuff here and there. But you could argue maybe two or other shows are like equally as good as the Summer Game Fest, which is supposed to be like the big show for the third party and stuff, and even PlayStation. It was kind of just awkward more than anything after looking back at it, because it kind of just blended into all the other mess, right?
Yep.
And now next year E3 is coming back, and they're going to be in person as well. And then KhAoThEory's like, I'm going to be there too. We're going to fucking see what goes down next year, right? I mean, it's... and
he was like, I'm going to have in-person stuff too. We're going to have something cool there.
Which I'm glad he tried to step up. Glad he tried to do that this year. But like the show kind of like had random parts on it that just sucked ass, you know? I saw Def Leppard say Troy Baker ruined it. Having Troy Baker do a podcast in the middle of your show is not the right way to do.
True.
Not the right way to do it. You know, you don't like interview people in the middle of the fucking like games show, you know, like, and then they bring them back out again for the second time. It's like, oh fuck, hey, we already got this once. Let's do it again. All right, where is this gonna go? You know, it's like, come on. You know, don't derail the games. And it's felt like a lot of filler in there in the middle to kind of hide the fact that they didn't have a whole lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was some good things there, but nothing like, whoa, right?
Nope.
Risk it.
His biggest one was probably Modern Warfare 2, the campaign footage.
Yeah, that was great, but we'd already just had the Call of Duty campaign announcement, the trailer. So I mean, it made it worth watching for that, and also for a couple of the announcements. But I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't worth watching at all. It was definitely worth watching. I think I gave it like a C, like a 7, you know, from a rating perspective.
I was a little more generous with it, but still, yeah. No,
I can't remember. I think I gave it a 7. I don't.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, Risk It for the Biscuit. It hit us with a $2 super chat. Says, told you, Mav, Bonnie Ross needs to go. Also, Psycho member for 4 months as a speculator. Halo Infinite is a solid game, but it lacks content. Yep. Brisket the Biscuit again with an $8 super chat says, Pong bro, there isn't anything ready. We're just moving towards the end of that pandemic drought, man. End of this year, 23, we good. Unlucky for Keeley. Yeah,
I agree with content, but releases. Look at his VGAs. He's had Hellblade, right? Teasers, like even something teased, right? Something big, new. I mean, look at Ubisoft just said they're going to announce the new Assassin's Creed in September, right? Why couldn't he get a teaser for brand new Assassin's Creed there? That's what I'm not talking about some big blowout of, gameplay or whatever the case may be, but just even teasers like the VGAs that everybody flocks to. I just thought he would have something like that. But you're right. Some of that is in there as well. But I just think Keeley could have grabbed something. That's all I'm saying.
So next up, more losers. Loser. All right.
Loser.
All right, where's this going? This is fun. All right. So I don't know where to go next because I don't want you to take either of them. So I'm going to go with the one that I feel like I'm going to save the other one because it's more boring, but I'm going to save this one because I wonder if anybody's in the same boat. I miss new game announcement CGI trailers.
Well, we did have some. You're talking about big stuff.
Big stuff. Yeah, it seems like everybody I've always been on the camp like I don't mind that shit when a game's far off. Getting super amped and excited about some like badass CGI, like, oh my god, they're making that. We didn't really get that at Xbox Bethesda showcase too much for too many games, like none of their big first party stuff really. And over the course of the whole thing, looking back at it, we really didn't get a lot of that period really. Like I feel like that's something I always live for at these things, is like the big new like huge announcement of like this thing that you just didn't see coming. We kind of got that a little bit today with Dragon's Dogma 2, I guess, right? But overall, over the course of this whole thing, it was kind of a lack of that stuff, man. So I wonder where it was. Maybe it's from the lack of other third-party companies and publishers being there. But I know that Xbox didn't have a whole lot of that either. I mean, they had Wolong and they had High on Life, right? But the High on Life had a lot of gameplay on it. It was closer up to release.
Correct.
So it was only kind of really one bigger one, that was in there that it just hits off the top of my head. I kind of miss that spectacle aspect of it. Like, I'm not saying do all that, right? But you had enough gameplay, instead of doing live service stuff, throw that in there. Same with all the other game shows. Keeley's show is definitely missing that, right? Any big time announcements, and even if something, if like it had like something like random, like Command and Conquer, bomb, 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 or something. You're like, oh my god, oh the fuck, the place will explode, right? Even if it's just a splash screen. No matter what, like there's certain titles and certain games, like I feel like we were missing that aspect from announcement wise. So losers was CGI game announcement trailers.
Yes, good one.
Or whoever makes those, whatever companies they hired to put those together, those who really lost.
Yeah. They really did. Gogo Poll, we might talk about it a little bit later, but Wolong, they've given some hints as to what it's going to be. It's going to be, they said the action is going to be a mix between Neo and Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
So they said at its most frenetic, it's going to feel like Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. From Game Ninja.
It does. And this is not the B team, folks. This is not the guys who just did the Final Fantasy. What the heck was the name of that freaking game that just bombed out? It's not that team.
Yeah.
No, this is the Neo team and the Bloodborne guys. Okay, this is going to be good stuff right here.
Now, if we get news that they're bringing back Itagaki as a creative director, that would be even better.
That ain't gonna happen.
No.
I've said a long time ago, I wish Phil would just kind of deal with Itagaki just to give him one more chance.
Hey, here's the studio. It's yours, man. They got a lot of talent. Play with them. Do what you want, man. Like, here's the thing. He's one of those kind of creators. I don't feel like it really worked out for him after he left Team Ninja,
He carries a lot of baggage. He was the motley crew of developers.
Right.
That's what I've always said. I love
Motley
Itagaki.
Crew.
Have
you seen that documentary, by the way?
Yes. Freaking amazing, bro. I wish I lived in like the 80s like that, man. I wish I was older during the 80s. Oh, look at Kaitlin showing up here. Hey, Kaitlin, member for 11 months. Thanks for being part of the Speculators crew. We appreciate you. She said, y'all goofy MFers, losers. yes. You're right, Kaitlin. We are. My last one, or another one I'm going to go with is the big one. Ubisoft. I just brought him up.
Damn
Ubisoft
it. See,
again.
I was afraid you were going to steal it.
Okay, well, we can do it back and forth on
both,
Ubisoft. We'll go back and forth on Ubisoft here. We'll talk about Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Look, we talked about EA having games in the works. Ubisoft has a shit ton of content in the works, supposedly. Okay, from their own mouth, they are working on a ton of stuff. Skull and Bones is supposed to be out this year, according to them. Like, okay, this game was in development hell. Like, everybody thought it was gonna be vaporware, and then all of a sudden they came out a few months ago and said everything. No, it's gonna be good. We're gonna bring it out. It's supposed to be going into beta. Look, where are you? Where are you, Ubisoft? Ubisoft Plus. You announced it months ago. Coming into Xbox. Hello. You came out and talked about Sony's version of Ubisoft Plus, which is cool. Where's Xbox's version? Why aren't you guys talking now that this might be on Xbox's side of things too? They might be holding it for some reason, but you came out, launched Assassin's Creed Origins in there, right? Along with other For Honor came in there with the brand new expansion pass as well included. You did this kind of stuff. Where are you? And then you come out and say, oh, we're going to do something in September to announce the next Assassin's Creed. Okay, well, that's cool, but you got all these other games. We know that Massive is working on something. You've got Division Heartland that's supposedly going into testing and in a beta that people have leaked screenshots from. Where are all these games, Ubisoft? What are you doing? You have a partnership with Xbox that's obviously great. Where are you? Nothing even on the secondary show? Not even a glimpse at something? I'm not saying that you would take a spot, but you could have certainly showed off. You could have certainly had a trailer. Nothing? Zero? We're just not going to talk during one of the biggest, arguably the biggest week in video games? You're just not going to be there at all? Bro, go ahead, Mav. What do you got? Ubisoft.
Ubisoft was absent, bro. I thought, that with how silent EA and Ubisoft were, I thought there was a good chance we were going to see them at the Xbox conference because they skipped Summer Game Fest, right? And then we didn't see anything from either of them. And Ubisoft is like, honestly, probably the one that surprised me the most at how absent they were. Just because of, like you said, the amount of games that we know are in the works. Like, I mean, they've already announced a lot of games. I mean, we saw some of them last year, like Avatar. We know that Massive is working on a Star Wars game that they've announced. We know that they have Heartland, they have X Defiant, they have a new Splinter Cell remake. They got two new Assassin's Creed games they're working on.
Skull and
Bones. I mean, and it's kind of just like crazy, man. Like, where you at? Where you at? We want to see you. Like, we want to see these games. We want to see this stuff, and it's just interesting, man. Ubisoft baffles me sometimes as well. They come out with good stuff, but like, I don't know. Maybe everything going on behind the scenes with them right now, like with their like potential selling merger stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's interfering. I don't see how it could. Jasper said Mario Rabbids as well. I mean, like, Nintendo was also MIA, and so was PlayStation for the most part. They had a couple things, but like, at least they had some showing, right? Ubisoft, just what the hell? Where are you at? It was surprising, especially with the Ubisoft Plus thing coming. I was sure we were going to hear about Ubisoft Plus and their plan on pricing for Xbox and PlayStation on the consoles, but nope. I guess we'll just Wait to hear about it later.
That does make me wonder, Mav, if negotiations are still ongoing, right?
Right.
If now at this point, if Microsoft is trying to find a way to get Ubisoft Plus in for a price that they can eat to keep, like, let's say Ultimate people do get Ubisoft Plus
Yeah.
included, right? That to again, and so that regular Game Pass subscribers, the $10 a month people, only have to pay a minimal amount to add Ubisoft Plus without going to Ultimate, right? Something like that. They could still be in negotiations. But again, Sony could also throw in a wrench in there with whatever deal they cut for the Vault access to the older Ubisoft games as well. So maybe this deal just isn't quite ready to be announced yet, but man, that was disappointing not to see Ubisoft with something. Again, that list of games that you just put out there, man, I forgot about Defiant and all those games. That needs to be re-shown again with whatever they've changed to try to give it a presence. And I mean, again, Heartlands is out. Heartlands is supposed to be coming like very soon. Like, why would you not be showing that off? What they've done with the Division is just so crazy to me. Again, everything they needed was in Division 2. Everything they've wanted is in Division 2. God, man. So we got to see Heartlands, and we got to see what they've done. They did come out and say that they've done some adjusting to Heartlands with some of the feedback they've gotten. So that's great. That's fantastic. I hope it's good feedback, but I need to see this game, man. I need to see it. I need to see what it's about. And, we got that small glimpse of Avatar. Why is Avatar not ready to have a gameplay trailer showing? That's got to be coming here soon. The movie's coming out. So Ubisoft not being around is really goofy to me. And then to only have one announcement this week saying on September, we're going to show you the new Assassin's Creed. Okay, what about all these other freaking games? When are you going to show them? When? So, yeah, man, really weird not to see Ubisoft at all. One game, 2 games out of that collection. Very, very strange. So I definitely put them in the loser box there. What else you got, Mav? You got anything else for losers?
I mean, not really.
Should we go? Okay,
yeah, we can start getting into the positive side of things now. Let's talk about the winners. Winners.
Go ahead, you start with the winners, Mav. I'll let you go first this time.
Game Pass. Game Pass. Game Pass was the #1 winner here because not only at the Xbox show, you had random announcements. So many people are enjoying the merits of that today already with TMNT Shredder's Revenge right now announced with 6-player online co-op and Game Pass day one. Also, more day one Game Pass games from third-party developers as well, which is something that's become quite the trend lately. We've seen the Routine game is getting Game Pass day one. We got High on Life Game Pass day one. You got Wolong is Game Pass day one. There was a couple other indie games. There's a Benedict Fox, right? And then there was another one from a solo dev. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Midnight Flight Express.
Midnight Flight Express.
Yeah,
yep,
that one.
Yep.
I can't remember.
Humankind.
Was American Arcadia in Game Pass?
No.
I can't remember. I don't think that one was, right? We just saw it like 5 times this week.
We saw it a lot.
But besides, there was just a lot of Game Pass day one presence here in the next 12 months, man. And Warhammer Dark Tide, another one they showed we already knew about. They reiterated on some, and man, it was just the amount of games coming into the service day one is absolutely astounding. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, there is no reason to ever think about unsubscribing unless there just literally is nothing for you, which they are making that harder and harder for people to see. There's just going to be something for everyone coming to the service, right? So I feel like they put a big emphasis with all of these shows on Game Pass. And that was the biggest winner for me as far as the companies go, right? What about you, man?
Indie games, developers were gigantic winner this past week, bro. Like, look, they always have a strong presence during E3. Okay, don't get me wrong. You could claim this pretty much any year, but I'm going to say this year we're starting to see that point, Mav, where indie devs and AAA developers are getting closer and closer and closer. Sure, we still had a lot of smaller titles out there that showed up that obviously, you know, however you want to say it, they looked indie. But then we had games like High on Life coming from this small group of developers that if you told me Xbox, one of their first parties was making it, right? I'd be like, yeah, okay, I believe it. We saw more and more of that. Callisto Protocol, of course, experienced devs. Like, I get it, like talent from a dev standpoint, that experience, but coming from a smaller studio, not having the backing of EA anymore, those devs that left the Dead Space franchise and created their own studio. Look, that game is on par with Dead Space Remake. It might even be better than Dead Space Remake looking at it, right? So indie devs this week really had a huge coming out party. We're talking about a diverse, which is the best part about indie titles, trying new things, but a diverse collection of games from all these indie developers really showed up and shined in a lot of ways. You brought up the Benedict Fox game. Phil tweeted that one out himself and said, there's always one game or two games that grab my attention during our show, and Benedict Fox is one of them. My God, man. I'd never heard of that game before. We had not heard anything about that game, and all of a sudden here it is on the main stage at Xbox, and it's one of the stars of the Xbox show. Sure, you could say, yeah, Redfall, Starfield, great, blah, blah. But there it is. That's still like one of the ones people remember. That and High on Life, two indie titles out of that huge showcase.
Yeah, but that one's triple I.
Yeah, triple I. Triple I. I love that, by the way. But the main guy who started the studio had no background in development. He's got background in animation, right? That's his background. He got some people together who knew how to develop a game, and then they made the High on Life. But Benedict Fox shows up, and all of a sudden it's playing, and it's one of those games. It's kind of like Replaced last year, right, Mav? When we saw Replaced, it was like, oh, wow, okay. Benedict Fox, the more it played, the more intriguing it got. So I got to say, indie games showed out this year. Again, they do on a regular basis, but this year on the biggest and brightest of stages in a lot of cases this year, whether it was the Summer Games Fest, whether it was the Xbox Bethesda stage, they really came to play. And like I said, you can tell now, man, the dev tools, the ability to have access to engines like Unreal, all of this is now starting to level the playing field with these companies. I'm not saying that we don't have a place for the AAAs. Obviously, some of the AAAs, a Starfield, from an indie dev would be pretty much unheard of at this point. But I'm saying quality-wise, when you start seeing these indie titles, more and more of those indie titles are coming in and being like, wow, okay. See an indie dev studio like the team behind TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, come out of the blue, take an IP, make a deal with a classic licensed IP, a beloved IP. And from what I've heard, I played the first level this morning before work. They crushed it, man. They absolutely took this beloved IP, which comes with huge risk. You can screw up IP like this in a lot of different ways. And from all I've heard is everybody's like, no, this is like the dream come true for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans. That's why indie devs are so important. Not only bringing in new things, trying new things, but also at the same time, taking older stuff and bringing it back to life again, even stuff that we know and that we love. Whereas a lot of the bigger studios shy away from those things. That's what it's all about. And one of the biggest ones, Mav, that I forgot, I was going to actually use this as a single winner, but I'll just throw it in here right now. Flintlock from the team behind Ashen. Flintlock, I knew about this game from last year's showing. Okay, this has been on my radar for a long time. I put it into Wandering Dutch's showcase, his community indie showcase. I've been all over Flintlock, but all I've seen on Twitter after it's showing off this past week is a lot of people going, whoa, where did this Flintlock come from?
Yeah.
Wow,
I didn't remember it before. Really cool. It does look really good.
Yeah. But yes, another team, again, go look at Ashen. And look at what they're doing with Flintlock, talking about a step up, a team
That's
making
a
a smaller game.
leap up,
Giant.
man.
Yes, it's a giant step up. That's where indies do. That's where indies come from. They are the staple of this industry. Without indies, this industry would nowhere near flourish as it does. Again, I understand a lot of people just play Call of Duty, Madden, right? Those are the casuals. I get that. But without the indies pushing things, a lot of these games that come out from the AAA, from the big time publishers and studios would not happen without these indies first doing stuff. So, man, indies were a big winner this week. Absolutely love to see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Another winner.
Oh, man. I was too caught up in your conversation to think about my next winner. However, I was going to say, oh, the gamers, but everybody says that every single time. You know what I mean? Of course, we all won. We got so much awesome news. I'm going to say that, jeez. I'm going to pick one, the devs of Silksong. Yeah. But that was also another Game Pass surprise, right? But
yeah,
Silksong, it has, like, you're talking about indie games, right? That's cemented itself now as like a staple, like premier indie franchise now. And I feel like this announcement blew up on the internet when it went into Game Pass.
It's Team Cherry, by the way.
Team Cherry. Okay.
Team
so
Cherry. Yep.
I remember looking. I think Indie Gamer pointed this out on the views of the YouTube videos when they had trailers. That was blowing every other trailer away by a long shot.
It had 357,000 views in 7 hours after the announcement, and the next closest I think was Forza Motorsport at like 160, 170, something like that.
That's crazy, dude. And just put that perspective. I mean, you're talking about these big AAA games. I mean, things like Starfield and Redfall and like all this other stuff, and you got Silksong coming out there with the most social media presence potentially from like views on YouTube, at least, if you want to base it on that. Immediately after the show, that was a big announcement, right? We still don't know 100% the release date, but we're hoping for early 2023 because it was in that timeline, I believe, on their list. But yeah, I'll say they have catapulted their whole studio up to another like staple of like, okay, anything that this studio is going to come out with from this point on is going to be massively talked about, highly regarded, can't wait for it, and they've cemented themselves in the top echelon of the indie, at least the indie crowd, but like I would say all of gaming pretty much, if you look at the response that got compared to everything else. Yeah, absolutely insane.
Yes, and Live Supremacy, Minecraft Legend does have the most always. Minecraft is mind-boggling when it comes to the reception that it gets. We forget all the time because it's Minecraft. Like it's like whatever. Biggest community in the world of gamers is on Minecraft, right? So that trailer just blew up, and I know the Minecraft community is going absolutely nuts on Reddit and everywhere else that they are. Like, this is a huge deal for them. So you're absolutely correct there. But no, good pick, Mav. Definitely good pick. I'm going to come back with another one. I'm going to come back with PC gamers.
Oh, yeah.
PC gamers were a big winner this week because, and why I'm going to say this, look, we know PCMRs, we know how they are. They're their own class. They're their own group of people. Some are really nice. Some are just as bad as the console warriors, right? When it comes to this stuff. But why I'm saying PC gamers won this week is because Microsoft and Xbox are going all in on PC gaming. And when you see a deal, and this is going to be the first of many deals, like the Riot Games deal, and this was a win for Xbox too, because again, they're going to gain more game. I said this on a different show. I can't remember which one I was on, but they'll probably get more Game Pass subscribers out of this Riot Games deal than they would have with Starfield launching this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So PC gamers, now that Microsoft and Xbox, and again, I know PC gamers hate the Microsoft Windows Store. They hate the PC Game Pass app It's absolutely awful. It's terrible. It's nonsense. But there comes to a time and point with Xbox and Microsoft putting a heavy emphasis on the PC side of things that there's going to be so much value there for them that they're going to be willing to put up with some of it. And obviously Xbox and Microsoft are going to be fixing a lot of that stuff. They're trying to. Activision Blizzard deal will help that as well because they'll get BattleNet. A lot of stuff can clear up once that acquisition goes through. I think you're going to see a lot of changes on that side of things. But for right now, to put a deal like Riot Games into PC Game Pass, where you open up all the heroes from League of Legends, from Valorant, from all these gigantic PC titles, over, what is it, $700 in value or something like that, just for a monthly fee of $10 on PC Game Pass. Look, that's a huge win for PC players. And it's, like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg. Jeff Grubb spoke about it last night over on Level 1 Gaming. Shout out to Level 1 Gaming and the whole crew over there. They had Jeff Grubb on, and they had Randall Thor on, and they had Delia HD on last night. Great show. But Grubb even said they're talking to everybody in the PC side of things right now to cut these types of deals. He said there's still some hesitancy to cut a deal like this for Game Pass because a lot of developers still don't want to take that leap of faith that it will help them instead of holding them back. He said, but it's going to take companies like a Riot Games was all on board with this because they had already maxed out. They had capped out their subscribers, right? They had capped out what they can do on League of Legends, Valorant, and all those games. So it only made sense to open up a whole new pathway, a whole new source of money by offering it in Game Pass like the way they did. So he said, you're going to start seeing that, and it's going to take a couple brave souls to jump in with Xbox. He said, Sega's the next big one. We got word this week that another Total War series is coming into PC Game Pass as well. I forget which one it is. It's the, God, I can't remember which one it is, but they're getting another Total War game into PC Game Pass as well. So Sega is probably one of the biggest proponents right now. Yeah, it's huge, man. It's huge, but PC gamers are going to win in the end because they're getting console exclusives now from both Sony and Xbox going into their ecosystem over there. Now on top of they're getting Game Pass deals like this, that is going to save them a ton of money and offer whole new experiences for them for a simply low monthly fee. So PC gamers definitely won this week as well. I had to throw that one out there.
Yeah, good one, man. I like it, and I completely agree. It's been on my mind, too. You know who else won this past week? Horror game fans.
Yeah, that was another one of mine. You just took one of mine. Yes.
Horror game fans.
Sci-fi
especially
horror,
sci-fi horror, right?
Yes.
My God, if there wasn't a resurgence of a genre all at once. Not only are we getting two Dead Spaces, one fake one, one real one, but really the fake one is the real one, and the real one may be the fake one. And a weird twist, and who knows what's going on in the Dead Space world. Not only are we getting two of those games, we're also getting lots of new franchises in this horror space genre and just horror genre in general. And even some like remakes, and I even saw D at the freaking limited run games event, dude.
Yeah.
That was insane. Yeah. I was like, is that crazy? I was like, is that D showing up here at this event? Like, what the hell is it? Like, whoa. It's crazy, man. Like, horror game fans rejoice. May the bloods and guts be spilled in your honor for all of the games that you're going to be enjoying over the next several years. I know that a lot of people were happy. It makes me wonder where people's minds have been at the last couple of years. Because there was some messed up stuff that we saw over the last couple of days. But man, it was awesome seeing that genre come back. Now, not all of it I'm going to be into, right?
Not me.
Yeah, I know not you. I know not you, bro. But like,
I want to see you play Routine, man. I want to see you play Routine.
Routine, I can do. It's robots. I ain't that scared of robots. You know, like,
bro. It's got a shark mouth. Robots don't have shark mouths.
I got a VCR gun. I'm gonna be able to fight it with. So
with the CRT scan or with the CRT screen, yeah, that's
whatever
that's great,
it was.
Man.
Yeah, I'm gonna fight it with that thing. We'll be good to go. So horror game fans.
Definitely. Bloober came out with Layers of Fears. And again, we're all assuming that Kojima's big project with Xbox is going to be horror based. Sounds like Overdose. If that game isn't the one, that is Microsoft's exclusive. That sounds like another horror game from Kojima. Lots and lots of good stuff coming out from that for sure. I'm gonna take another winner here. Where do I want to go with this one? I'm gonna take a simple one here. This is gonna sound funny too because of how much talk there's been about it, but I'm going to say, do I want to go big or do I want to go just very specific?
Go for the gold.
I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna go general. I'm gonna go Xbox. Xbox was a winner this week, and I know it kind of falls in line with your Game Pass deal, Matt. But what I'm going to say is Xbox. Now that I've had time to sit back, and we could probably talk about this more if we got time at the end of the show after we get through this, because I know we probably want to get in some Starfield talk here too.
Yeah.
Listen, and I know you're on a time limit as well. So, but I'm going to say Xbox in general won this week, even though there's been so much debate about the showcase in general. And so many people had so many different expectations. Look, we all had different expectations. If you listen to any of our prediction shows, if you listen to any people in the know on prediction shows, it was a totally different show from what we thought we were going to get. Okay. From the standpoint that they boxed themselves in with 12 months. But why I'm going to say there were winners in this at the end of the day, as the dust settles, as I sit back, and it was pretty easy for me to kind of shift gears once I kind of figured out where they were going and what they were doing with this and taking a look at the big picture. It was a win for Xbox because they took what was expected and flipped it, but they've now set themselves up, Mav. And I've been thinking about this long and hard because we talked about how they should have smaller shows, that they need more shows throughout the year because they're going to have so much content, even without Activision Blizzard. Once they get Activision Blizzard, it's going to be ridiculous how much content that they have. But I think now Xbox has set themselves up for a new standard when it comes to the E3 time showcases. And I think that this might be the way forward, Matt, this 12 months. They're going to have so much content coming that to have a specific showcase as big as this one is during E3 time, where they simply give us a detailed roadmap of what we can expect for the next 12 months to be dropping into Game Pass, to be available to us, third-party deals. And again, this is going to start including PC, and eventually it'll start including mobile stuff as well as they make more acquisitions or as they get the Activision Blizzard deal done, because it's no longer just about the console players. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. I understand that. We're all set in our ways. We all just want this thing to be catered towards us. I get it. I was in that group. I wanted to see Avowed, right? I wanted to see these games. But they've now set themselves up for a new standard for the showcase. So the point is that when we hit June each year, we as Xbox gamers can know specifically going into that show. And again, this is all based on an assumption that they continue to do it this way, okay? Look, I'm just assuming that this is the new plan. But we can all come into that show getting hyped for the next 12 months, finding out exactly what we are going to be playing, getting gameplay from most of those games that we are going to be seeing, getting surprises like a High on Life, like a Benedict Fox, getting those types of surprises out of there as well. But we all are going to have that set up so that we know that this is the spot where we get that 12-month roadmap and know exactly what we are going to be playing. And in this case, it was what, 35 games, Math? Total 36? 35?
Yeah, it's like 35, 36? I think.
35 games. We'll just go with 35. Nice number. 35 games in total that we're going to have over the next 12 months. If all things go according to plan, we know how that goes, right? But all things go according to plan. That's 3 games per month locked for the next 12. So when I sat back and I looked at this is kind of part of what we talked about they needed to do. They needed to figure out how to do this. Now, again, me as the gamer, me as somebody who wants to see all the Christmas presents before they're wrapped, me who wants to see the future as well, they need to find a way to also sprinkle in some of that future stuff. But I think that can be done at a different show, maybe a spring show. And I think next year that they're going to do different shows. I think they might have a couple more in place, whether that's a spring show, whether that's a fall show, where they give us a dab or a couple shots of Avowed or Hellblade 2 or whatever the case may be, I think that might be the right way forward. In again, just because we didn't necessarily expect or want this year because we had a totally different idea, I think, man, they kind of maybe just did it right. And I think that really, when we sit back and look at this now, and again, if you let go of the emotions behind what you wanted or what you were expecting, and you just kind of look at it, you say, you know what, it's kind of nice to come out of this show and just know that my next 12 months are set up, and I know that I'm going to be playing A, B, C, D, all the way through Z by next June when we're ready for another show. I think it's kind of nice, man. And I think that really they could build off of this. And I really think they could find a nice rhythm to some shows and how they're going to work this out, where they do give us glimpses of the future, sell us some hopes and dreams. We as gamers still like that. Like you said, Matt, you like CGI trailers. I don't mind CGI trailers. I know a lot of people hate them. But at the end of the day, if they could do this on a regular basis, if this is the way that they've got it planned out now, looking forward to June every year to get that yearly roadmap crystal clear, like locked. Like there's still going to be third-party deals that are in here that we don't know about that are going to be worked out, right? But I know I've got these 35 games coming in the next 12 months or whatever that number is. That's pretty cool, man. What do you think, brother? Am I onto something, or am I?
No, for sure, man. I mean, we talked about this before. Like, if they're going to do that, it needs to be a thing going forward. I don't know if this was the year to start it. Because they kind of had to have some filler in there, right? Where they didn't necessarily need to. That's what the second show should have been about. But if that's what they're starting, it makes a lot of sense going forward, right? Because even with that saying like, oh, they should have started it this year, there's still a crap ton. And one of my winners would be myself in 2023, right? Like, because holy shit, it's just like cementing that as a way of showcasing your year's worth of games does make a lot of sense, because that's the big stage and that's when everybody's looking. But if you did it this year, then you better do it next year. Otherwise, it just makes you look stupid for this year.
Correct.
Right.
That's why I'm assuming this is the path forward.
Right. It's got to be. And this would be, like we talked about before, one of the solutions to how they're going to figure out how to deal with all their games. Right. But I don't want to lose out on the new game announcements for things in the future. So they need to figure out that as well. Whether that they reserve that for the Game Awards or the Gamescom or some other QuakeCon,
XO, if they bring back XO,
some other secondary shows that they come up with as well. And it's only going to get worse when Activision Blizzard comes on board, right? So we got to figure out ways to keep all of those things on track.
Yes.
For announcements, and I want more frequent updates on the things that already had been announced, dev diaries or something of that sort. However, I do like it if you're moving forward with that, and you could just call it the next year on Xbox, E3 2023. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just has that as a staple, and it would get people would be fucking pumped for that, to see all the surprises coming out for the next year, and we got legitimate surprises this time.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean. We got the Wolong, we got High on Life, we got a couple of indie games in there as well that look really good. There was a lot of really cool stuff, and seeing that how many things are coming that early. I mean, Forza Motorsport technically is a surprise, even though we all guessed it. It's kind of leaked ahead of time. That's another big one, right? So overall, man, I 100% agree with you. Xbox did come way after all of this in more people's minds than anything else, I believe.
Right.
From all of the other companies, everything combined, I think Xbox is the number one topic.
Yeah, for sure. And they were probably going to be anyways, just by sheer content and because they're the biggest thing going, because Sony.
Well, and people also like to talk shit on them regardless.
Yeah, they do.
Either, so.
Yeah, it's continuous, right? It's always going to be that way. Xbox will always get the negative and the good press, and they will always be talked about. But now that they're all in, now with the amount of content, now it's just like... Again, like you said, no matter what, they're gonna be on the lips of everybody at all times, because this, again, without even Activision Blizzard, this is 35 games. Think about when Activision Blizzard shows up. Man. It's gonna be absolute updates to games, Overwatch, Diablo 4, all that stuff. It's gonna be so gigantic. So You got another winner, Mav, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, I'm going to throw in a loss. I got one more loss to throw in there.
Oh,
This will
okay.
be a good segue, I believe. This will be a good segue, I believe. So a big loss was a lot of people's common sense and I guess memory have been lost. People have lost their memory and have lost their common sense when it comes to being able to discuss video games. And that was a loss. So I don't know where they went, but I'm looking for them. If people could put out put some signs out on some telephone poles and stuff, tell them to call us here, Fun Speculation, if you found gamers' common sense and if you also have found their memory, because it seems like people forgot what certain games are about, what their histories are, what certain developers' histories are, what they're meant to be about, and they've also there's no common sense regarding anything regarding the gaming industry or games anymore. So if you find that, please let me know. I'm gonna see if I can't get an ad to put on some milk cartons, and we'll see where it goes.
Oh, brother, you are spot on. Like I always say, intellectually dishonest or willfully ignorant. Which one are you? Which one are you? Or are you just a straight up fraud who's never played some of the games that you claim you've played before? Because man, oh man, are you correct, man? So let's I think you're segueing here into, of course, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, talking point, console warring topic this week.
That's right.
All things. Yes. Whatever you want to call it. Again, my mute has been on blast for the past 3 months. I'm getting it to the point where it's very quiet, where I do have to seek it out, unless I see somebody that I follow's response to something, and then I'll hop in and see some of the nonsense. But man, oh man. Starfield, Mav, Starfield, and Forza done it too, but Starfield specifically. Starfield seems to have brought out all the worst of the worst, Mav. It seems to be like bees to honey when Starfield showed off nearly 15 minutes of gameplay.
Oh yeah, glorious.
15 minutes of gameplay, and man, oh man, Mav, we've been talking about this in the background. We've talked about this on shows as we've covered Starfield, as we went through the whole, what are you guys hyped about? You guys know nothing about this game. Why are you guys hyped? You know nothing. It's Bethesda. You don't know it. Mav and I have done whole shows trying to explain to people what we do know about Starfield, why we know about it, what Todd has said, that we already could imagine what it was going to be. And for me, I'll speak for myself and I'll let you speak on it too. But for me, when that gameplay was shown of Starfield, it was everything I imagined Starfield to be and more.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was going to be big, but the only thing I really didn't know was how big they were going to go, right? How big they were going to go. And when Todd finally started showing it off and he did his classic presentation, and I thought it was, for how gigantic, for how ambitious this game is, another masterful job at showing off some of the key mechanics within the game, how they were going to work, how they were going to look, what our experience was going to be like hopping into the game. Did a masterful job there. And then at the end, when he said, just how big is Starfield? Well, let me tell you. And then they pulled back and he said, well, you got the planets. And he goes, but it's not just one star system. And they pull back further to this big giant star map, and hundreds of star systems with thousands of planets, over 1,000 planets, I should say, to explore. Right there and then, you can see it live. You can see my reactions over on right on this channel during the show when they started showing Starfield. Again, Kaitlin did a fantastic job of memeing me with the crazy filter, but it was appropriate.
Oh, well, because my mind was a filter.
Yeah, that was a filter. That wasn't really me.
Oh, okay.
But my mind was blowing, and you could tell. Like, I was, even after show, when we were talking about the show, Like I was half there, half not there. I was rewatching the gameplay while we were talking and stuff because my mind was blown away by what I had just seen. But to your point, Mav, it really seems like a lot of people are confused by Bethesda and by what they showed and what a Bethesda game actually is. Actually, as Jasper would say, they don't seem to understand.
Does that surprise you?
No,
Me
not in
neither.
the least. Like I said, like I said, the again, all of the regular clowns showed up as well, plus some other people. Starfield's got a little bit of that cyberpunk now to it, where it's cool to hate, where it's cool to jump on that bandwagon. Again, more power to you. Don't play the game. I hope less people play this game, and I hope that I'm one of the ones that just sits back and enjoy it. It's one of my little own things, kind of like Cyberpunk was, okay? Where everybody else just hates on it, and I'm sitting there just going, you guys don't know what you're missing. Sorry, I'm having a freaking blast, and I'm just enjoying it. That's the old days of gaming before gaming became this huge phenomenon and cult like pop culture that it is now, you know, where everybody's playing games. I kind of like it when games come out and get hate and I'm one of the only ones that love it. So go ahead, don't play it. Please don't experience Starfield. Please, it's too big for you. 1,000 planets. You don't want to do all that. Just go back to playing regular Assassin's Creed or something. Just go do that stuff. Don't come over to Starfield, okay? I know that's what Todd and Phil don't want. Todd and Phil want this to be the biggest game of all time, right. So whatever. But they definitely came out and showed themselves, again, either as intellectually dishonest because they know what Bethesda games are, or willfully ignorant and they've never really played these games before and they're just making up stuff as they go. Again, I said it live on stream. Does it look like No Man's Sky when he's mining the rocks? Absolutely it does. I said it right on stream. I said, wow, No Man's Sky. The scanning of the plants, No Man's Sky. But that's not unique to No Man's Sky either. Okay, that's sci-fi fiction in general. You can go back and read books from the 60s that explain the exact same type of processes. What do you think they're going to be out there doing? Pickaxes in the future? You think they're going to be using pickaxes? No. What are they going to be using? They're going to be using laser tools. So of course it's going to look like that. They all take inspiration from original sci-fi films. Todd and his team, if you go watch some of the videos that have been done behind the scenes, and SloMoBackSlap, shout out to SloMoBackSlap, does amazing work on Bethesda titles and a cool member of this community who's done great videos. He's gone back and they and him and some of the guys on Reddit kind of figured out what books that Bethesda were using. And shockingly enough, some of those books were 60s and 70s sci-fi books. Okay. It's got a unique style. That's where they came up with a lot of the ideas. That's what they use for inspiration on this. So all that, again, if you want to say it's No Man's Sky, go ahead, say it's No Man's Sky, but it's so much more than that. Starfield is what No Man's Sky thought it was when they first started developing it, and then they never got to that point. Now, they've done a great job updating it. I like No Man's Sky. Actually, I was day one on PlayStation for No Man's Sky. Bought it the day it came out, okay? That's how big in the sci-fi, and I wanted to explore space. And they do a lot of great things in No Man's Sky, and what they've done to it since then is incredible. But it's still not going to be on the story level of a Starfield. It's still not going to be on the NPC, the interactions, the decision-making level of a Starfield. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Starfield is pure Bethesda. This is Skyrim in space. Todd already told you all that. That's what this is. Bethesda's never going to be the team that wows you graphically. The Creation Engine, even Creation Engine 2.0, was never created to be the top of the line graphics. That's not what it's for. It's for scaling. It's for mission creation. It's for exploration. It's for AI that causes randomness in the world. This is a sandbox RPG. This is not a carefully tailored RPG, even though they do have a mainline game that Todd has already come out and said, hey, 20, 40 hours, you can probably run through the main line. If you don't want to do the side missions, don't do the side missions. You don't want to travel to 1,000 planets like Behind said on the second showcase, don't do it. Go ahead and mainline the game, 20 to 40 hours. You got your mainline story, your Mass Effect, your whatever RPG you want to point out. Go ahead and do that. But there's all of this huge, gigantic sandbox. If you want to play in one corner, that you can do that. They allow you. Go freely do that. For some of us who want to go explore this entire sandbox, that's when the game opens up. and you're allowed to go anywhere. You're allowed to create your own little sandcastles all over the sandbox, or your own little bases or big pits of whatever you want to do, you're allowed to do. And that's what they make these games for. And people seem to have forgotten or ignore that fact, or decide that all of a sudden Bethesda was going to become a whole new studio, and all of a sudden they were going to do something completely different.
Single player focused, little story based games or something, you know.
Pete Hines, Todd Howard repeatedly said in their interviews, this is not necessarily about the stories that we give you. None of our games are. Fallout, Oblivion, Elder Scrolls in general, none of our games are necessarily about the story that we carefully create or curate for you. It is about all the stories you want to go make in our worlds. They said that multiple times. This is about the story you want to create. And right now, with the base building, with the ship building, with the factions that are out there that you can join, with the ability to dock and raid ships if you want to, with all of these things they've already shown us. Again, this is a small snippet of what we're going to be able to do. With all of that in play that they showed off during the showcase, and Todd again did a masterful job of this. This allows me to go be a different person in Starfield's world and shape my own stories where Mav and I, or Psycho, or 3-Bit, or Steel, or whoever is in a party chat, and I go, oh, I'm playing Starfield right now. I just went and did this. And everybody goes, what? You can do what? What'd you just do? Yeah, I just went and did this. Hey, guess what? I found this over on the 50th planet from the sun. And everybody's like, what? I haven't even, what are you, I haven't even seen that part of the star system yet. What are you talking about? That's so cool. And then all of a sudden they tell me another story. Mav comes and says, oh man, I was just doing this over here, and I found this side mission out of the blue, and it was this, it turned out to be this big giant kind of murder mystery. And I'm like, wait, where was that? When did you find that? That's what Bethesda games are about. That's why to this day, Skyrim is still being played. That's why to this day, Fallout 4 is still being played today, because of that experience that you can have within their worlds that may be as unique as a fingerprint to everybody else that is doing, or everybody else who is exploring the same universe. That's what Bethesda titles are at their best. And that's without even getting into the modding community. The creation engine was created to also work hand in hand with the modding community, because Bethesda loves their modding community for a couple different reasons. One, the modding community fixes a lot of Bethesda's problems for them. Okay, that's undeniable. Now you can say that's wrong. You could say that shouldn't happen. Whatever. The modding community from Bethesda loves going in and tinkering with these games. The creation engine allows those modders the same freedom that the developers themselves have to go into these worlds and create whole new gigantic places never thought of before, whole new adventures. And those mods are going to be open to the consoles this gen. They were open last gen as well, but even more so this gen. Phil's talked about it. Todd's talked about it. They want console modding to be a thing. So we're going to see some of that. And with 1,000 open worlds for modders to go do whatever they want to on blank canvases in a lot of cases where there's nothing there on that planet outside of resources, we're going to have some epic modding done in this game. I've talked long enough, Matt. Go ahead. Starfield, your thoughts, bro. Cover how you want to, man.
Well, man, it's like, I don't know how I can follow that, Pong. No,
you can follow just fine. You've got lots of good thoughts on Bethesda and what they do.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right on like what Bethesda is. It seems like people just either don't. This went back way before Starfield was announced. Why is anybody even excited for Starfield? We don't even know what it is yet. And it's like, well, have you heard the Todd Howard interviews? Have you played any Bethesda Game Studios RPGs before, single player? Have you played Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Oblivion? You know, have you played Skyrim, right? Have you played Fallout 3? Have you played Fallout 4? If you're a fan of those games, then, and you follow kind of like the history of that studio and what those games are all about, then there would be no reason for somebody to not be excited for Starfield, right? Because your imagination just goes there. And also knowing the history of the studio and interviews with them in the past, knowing that they always wanted to have a trifecta of the single player RPG series. Todd Howard's dream was always that. It was always to have the post-apocalyptic thing, is always to have the fantasy game, and also to have the sci-fi game. They've been able to repeat back and forth on those first two, but the timing had to be right for them and for you to be able to create the game that they always wanted to make. And that was when it moved over into this generation, because they needed to make something that was really truly where you could explore space, right? That was not possible before on the past consoles in this way. And that's why they did this game now. And that's why we're getting Starfield. It doesn't lose those other aspects of Bethesda RPGs. It all of a sudden is not just at the bones. It's not all of a sudden not a Bethesda game. It always was going to be a Bethesda game. This was their first big game since Skyrim. And Skyrim just had their 10th anniversary. This is that next thing. So there's a reason why a lot of people like us were talking about Starfield, why I put a video out before anybody else did, saying why I'm excited for Starfield. Like, trying to let people know, like, look, people, like, this stuff, information's out there. Like, people are saying, well, you only know what everybody else knows. No, nobody's looking at this stuff. Really, like, really actually, people that are out there bitching about this stuff or, like, really don't understand or whatever, they don't understand it because they haven't heard the interviews, right? They haven't read the interviews. They haven't played those games in the past, or either that or they're just trying to troll, right? Because if you know, then you wouldn't be surprised about what Starfield is. And that's what's surprising now is people are like, oh, that's what it is. What I thought it was going to be like this. I don't fucking know. Like, what am I supposed to do? I thought it was going to be like this.
Why they got to have that voice? Why they got to have
because
that
they're morons. I thought it was going to be like this game. It doesn't have first person shooting like Call of Duty. Yeah. It doesn't have, the characters don't have voices like Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, oh, that's the gold standard. That's coming out of fucking journalist mouths, people. And it just makes me like wonder, like, where the fuck are people coming up with this stuff, man? And it's like part of it's trolling and part of it's like surprising at the game's not what they thought it was. And I don't know. I anticipated that because there's a lot of people that aren't familiar with the franchises that they've done before, and they just see a new game name. They don't really know the history of Bethesda. That was just, oh, they made Fallout 76. They made, they made Elder Scrolls Online. I don't know if I'm into those games. They forget about everything they did before. Either that or they just like don't know. So then you see like a Starfield and you're like, oh, what's this Starfield game everybody's talking about? And like, oh, this is it. Oh, looks like trash, man. I don't even understand what this is, man. They're just copying No Man's Sky, dude. This is like horse shit. I'm just gonna fucking blatantly rip off No Man's Sky and just make it look better and call it a new game. Horse shit, man. Now, you know what? Part of the problem is that the part that they left out of like this whole trailer and gameplay sequence, which we're going to get information on later, was the RPG and the story, right? They held that back because that's going to be the next thing we see later on. Like the story, they've talked about the story. They told us a story,
and they gave us a glimpse of both. They did give us
with the factions, with the interaction back from the faction leaders and stuff,
and the
right?
collecting the artifacts. We know the basis of what the main storyline is, and then they did show us some of the RPG stuff that they're bringing back to the old school. They're mixing and blending the new school style that some people didn't like with the old school style. They already said early on. Todd said this is going to be a more hardcore RPG than maybe Fallout 4 was, which is perfect for me.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's for Bethesda game fans, for space geeks, for RPG fans, Western RPG fans, this is like a dream game come true for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not going to hit on everything you wanted, but to focus on like one aspect of something the game doesn't have, or the way it's not like something else that you want, instead of all the shit that is in this game, is just being like absolutely ludicrous. And then also like for the performance talk and all that stuff out there as well. Look, this is a game beyond scale that like is not out there. You know what I mean? Like that's the way Bethesda games have always been. This is nothing surprising. I told Pong a long time ago that I was worried whenever Starfield comes out, it's going to get the cyberpunk treatment just because of the way that social media is and the way that the community is. Are people going to be as forgiving as they've been in the past on the Bethesda games, who are way more ambitious than any other games created? So, for example, like those games make Cyberpunk look small, right? I mean, they do. I mean, Cyberpunk is small compared to those games, right? Cyberpunk's a massive RPG. The Witcher 3, massive RPG. Those games make those games look small, right? And to have these new games come out and to be on a scale like we really haven't seen before, especially this one, which is bigger than anything they've ever done by far. Not only in terms of everything else with the 1,000 planets and all that shit, but the main story is bigger than anything they've done before. With the dialogue more than they've ever had before. All this other stuff's bigger, more handcrafted stuff than any game they've made before. That is massive, and like. I never anticipated this game to be like the most performing, like best performing thing out there. I was just hoping for a 60 frames mode, please, right? I was never expecting anything. And you can't compare this to something like a Forza Motorsport or something like a Last of Us or something like an Uncharted or any of the games that are much smaller in scope that are completely different. Scale has always had a parallel with the way these games perform and with the ambition these developers take on. And I would never want Bethesda to sacrifice the ambition and scale of their games just for the sake of a few bugs here and there, or to be able to hit 4K 60 instead of 1440, right? Because the game itself is something that you live in. Like it's something that takes over more than other games. I mean, I tell Pong all the time, like I still haven't beat Skyrim because I don't want to. I've bought it on PC, Xbox, PlayStation. I think I bought 360, Xbox One, and Series X. Bought it on PlayStation. I bought it on PC, and I played on everything. And I have different characters, different experiences, different types of journeys I go on. One time I'll follow more of the main storyline that I kind of veer off. Another one I'll focus on a magic user. You go do like this quest that makes you more of a vampire, or you do another quest, you become a werewolf. There's all these different aspects that are in these games that like you don't have to even experience. You could miss it. You could miss it by making the wrong dialogue choice at a certain time and never know this even existed in the game. That's the way that they are, right? They're so massive in scope, man. And when I saw that gameplay trailer, Pong,
yeah,
I was like, oh my god, they did it.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, yep. Oh my fuck, they actually pulled this thing off. You know what I mean? They called it NASA Punk, with a story. It's going to have a story and it's going to be all of that. When I saw the ship combat and I saw the base building, I saw the ship building, and then you got the combat and the first person, third person, and you got the different factions. All the roots of like what make a Bethesda RPG are still there. Yep. Except this is truly going to be that like space exploration Bethesda sci-fi RPG that I've always dreamt of, man. I've wanted this since I played Mass Effect. I remember thinking back in the day and reading something about Todd Howard and like Oblivion and him saying that or Morrowood maybe back in the day. I'm not sure which one. And him saying, well, I would love to make a sci-fi game. Years. Yeah, Oblivion years. Yeah, I would really like to make a sci-fi one day if we could find the time. And I remember thinking, man, after playing this game, like I could just imagine them doing like that, because one of my favorite game studios, Oblivion's one of my favorite games ever. I even like that more than Skyrim. And this is, for me, it's a dream game come true. And I was super happy when I saw it revealed, and it living up to my wildest expectations, dude. It like surpassed them. And I see people shitting on it because like these weird reasons that have nothing to do with the kind of game it is.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So
this is the game that this is the game that this is a game. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're fine.
Again, you can take what you want to out of this game. Okay, you can take what you want to. You can play this game like a normal RPG. You can do a couple side quests, maybe join a faction, maybe do a line of that, mainline the thing. You're still going to get a 40-hour experience, maybe a little bit more if you do some side questing and stuff. A 40-hour experience, 40, whatever time you want to put into this game is what you're going to get out of it. Just because they give you the ability, that's why this whole nonsense about, well, bigger isn't always better. Well, you're absolutely correct. If it's supposed to be a curated game, we've seen that. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is huge, but Assassin's Creed games these days, one of the biggest complaints is it's filled with a bunch of garbage. It's not even empty, it's filled, but it takes you away, right? But this right here is a game that is literally a sandbox RPG. Do what you want with it. If you want to mainline it, mainline it. If you want to go explore, go explore. If you want to live the space pirate's life like I'm going to, and you just want to raid ships all day for a whole entire day, go do that. That's the beauty of Bethesda, right? At the end of the day, these complaints are nonsense because they're not forcing until Todd comes out on stage and says, you know what? If you want to complete the mainline story, you're going to have to visit all 1,000 planets. Okay, until that's said, I don't want to hear complaints that this is too big. It's up to you to do what you want here. That's what they give you. That's why Pete and Todd continuously talk about. It's the stories that you create. It's the life that you want to live within our world that determines your experience at the end of the day. Steel finished Cyberpunk, and I think it was like 60 hours, maybe just at the 70-hour mark. Mm-hmm. He finished Cyberpunk for his first run through in that time frame. I took 280 hours in my first run through Cyberpunk. Okay? I lived in that world the way that I wanted to. Now, that's just Cyberpunk. Like Mav said, Cyberpunk is small compared to a Bethesda title. So the opportunity is there to do what you want to do. And let's quickly, I know we're on time here, but let's quickly run through a couple of the complaints here, Mav. Some of the common ones that we're hearing. Number one, well, we just covered it's too big. I think both you and I covered that. The next one is the shooting. People aren't happy with the gunplay. Let me tell you something. If you're rolling into a Bethesda title thinking it's going to play like a Call of Duty, like a Halo, like a Destiny, as far as gunplay goes, that's never been a highlight. They have all these systems in place in these big giant worlds that are good, but it's not about those systems. They don't necessarily put all of the eggs into, like, let's say battles. If you go play Skyrim, the magic system and the sword system and the battle system, it's okay. It's serviceable, but that's not what the game's about. That's not, even though you're spending a ton of time doing that stuff, that's not what you're thinking about while you're doing it. You get used to it. Yeah. But let's take a closer example, Fallout 4. If you go to Fallout 4, right, and you start out the game, these are true RPGs, people, and Fallout 4 kind of strayed from that, but again, it's still an RPG. Bethesda sets all their games up like an RPG. Therefore, when you are in level 1, and go back and watch this gameplay video, the enemies that they're fighting are level 2 space pirates. So this is level 1 or level 2 here, folks. They're not showing you high-level gameplay here. They're showing you low-level gameplay. You are weak. Your weapons are weak. Fallout 4, you start out with a pipe pistol. Anybody here who tells me that they had a good time playing with that pipe pistol is lying, okay? Tell me you had a great time. Was
fire. Let's go.
A pipe pistol without any mods is absolutely horrible. But tell me by the time you put a lot of effort into Fallout 4 and you come across the oh my god, what was it called? Oh shit, what was it called? It was the rifle. The is a kiloton? I think it's a kiloton. Kiloton radium rifle or something crazy. Fallout names, right? Kiloton. We'll just go with kiloton rifle. When you get that kiloton rifle and you get it modded up, then tell me how the gameplay is. Tell me how that shooting feels when you've got that thing modded up and you're a higher level and you got some of your stats up. Guess what? All of a sudden it's a completely different game. Bro, they were showing you early level, early weapon stuff. That's supposed to be like that. That's Bethesda's titles, okay? That's how they do this stuff. Again, you're showing your ignorance right away if you start complaining about that stuff, if you don't understand how Bethesda titles are set up, right? Mav, you got anything on that one?
I agree. I mean, it's like there's a lot of complaints, the random stuff, and one of them is like you can't land on the planets, yourself, right? They said it themselves, like, hey, we know some people would like this, but like overall it wasn't for us worth it for the user experience, the amount of time it would have taken to engineer that instead of the other stuff that we're working on. And like, it's like, oh no, you can do it in No Man's Sky. There's a million games you don't do that in as well. And would I like an option? Yeah, maybe, but maybe they can add it later on or something, or maybe there'll be a mod for it, right? Like, it's just something that's not a huge deal. And there's been so much focus on one aspect of something that's missing from a game as opposed to everything that's in there. Everything else they talked about that's in this game that no other game has really done. And people are focused on the one thing you can't do, right?
And it's not a sim. It's not a sim game, right, Mav? Look. I said it would be cool. I love it in No Man's Sky, right? The takeoff and all that kind of stuff. This is an RPG, and let's be realistic here. Anybody complaining about this stuff is going to be fast traveling everywhere, anyways. Are you kidding me right now? They're not even going to take the time to do any of the flight unless they're going to go battle in space. After the first few times, they're going to be one of those people that just fast travels everywhere. So come on, man. Why waste the resources? Why put a whole new mechanic in there? Again, would it be cool? Sure, it would be cool. But if it's something that would have taken away dev time from this game, if it was something that would have been too heavy for the creation engine, which is certainly possible, then so be it. Who cares if you've got a simulated landing and a simulated takeoff? Who cares? At the end of the day, they're still allowing you to land anywhere you want to on a planet. So they're not taking that away. You can land in a random area. You just won't be able to do it yourself. So yeah, would it be cool? Would it not be? Whatever. Again, at the end of the day, is it going to take away from the fact that we're going to get this gigantic, most ambitious game ever from Bethesda? Not in the least. People aren't even going to think about it after a while when you start realizing how big this game is. So forget all that nonsense. That's nonsense too. The no talking protagonist. Okay, the silent protagonist complaint. You guys, look, guys and gals, if you're out here talking about silent protagonists, look, man, look. That allows, if you have a silent protagonist, again, if this was a curated RPG like Mass Effect, perfect. A protagonist who is voiced is fine. It works great. There's a limited amount of lines, a limited amount of dialogue, a limited amount of options. It's fantastic. Okay, that's great. When you get into these open world RPGs, and especially Bethesda titles, they want to get back to be able to open up the different interaction trees. And what this does with a silent protagonist is opens up so many more possibilities for you in the dialogue trees, in the questions and answers, into the consequences of choices that you make. The silent protagonist is the way to go. Period. Mav, do you agree or do you disagree? Would you rather have
100%? I think didn't Fallout 4, didn't they include a voice in that one or something? And it felt like off. It felt more like limiting and stuff. I just really preferred before when it's like you are the character, right? The voice I heard was in my head. Right.
That's what Steele and I said in the DMs. I said when the voice is not there, I say it up here anyways.
I do.
I'm reading it.
Whenever I play the game, the voice is in my head of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And then I get the response, and I become the character. It's me, right? But when I here's the other voice, I'm playing as a different character, and it throws me off. I prefer in a game like this, to have that. Now, if I'm playing a game where I'm playing like a purely third person game and I'm playing as like some like specific person, right, then I prefer a voiced character, right? Even in JRPGs and stuff, right? A lot of JRPGs you don't have voices, but it's like okay, it's Cloud, right? I want to hear Cloud's voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially I'm seeing Cloud the whole time and like all this stuff. I want to hear what he sounds like, right? But if I'm creating my own character,
correct,
between all these different races or species, potentially even in this, and like male, female, whatever, like when I'm playing as that character, that's me. You know what I mean? And the voice that's coming out is in my head, right? So that's what I personally prefer.
Yep, exactly. I think that's about it. Can you think of any other criticisms? Otherwise, we need to get you out of here anyways. So
no, I mean, there's just a bunch of random stupid shit online.
It's a bunch of random stupid shit. Again, the frame rate, yes, that's going to be cleaned up. Again, anybody expecting, so do I. Again, anybody expecting this to all of a sudden be a completely different Bethesda and a creation engine, even though they upgraded it, like if you don't think that there's not going to be some performance stuff there, you know, again, I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. You can say that I'm just sweeping it underneath the rug like it doesn't matter. Look, everybody's got to make their own decision on these games. If that absolutely is a crusher for you, I don't know what to tell you. I know Todd likes 30 frames. That he said that publicly, so he's shooting for 4K 30. I think somebody else brought it up, and we've talked about it in the DMs. I hope that they take this extra time to implement like FSR, so that at least we can get a 60 frames performance mode at like 1440. I think that would be fantastic. I just want the frames to be somewhat stable for all the people who don't have VRR. I've got VRR, so I'm not really worried. It works extremely well for these types of games. But again, Bethesda is Bethesda. This is it's not a brand new engine. They built off of the old creation engine. So, you know, bugs are going to be there. I think that the extra time that they've had, that with it only being Xbox and PC, I do believe this will be the least buggy Bethesda title we've ever had. I do think that that's going to help them in the long run. And I do expect the performance to be somewhat better than we've seen out of their previous titles, especially at launch day, without the modding community helping out and fixing. So I do expect that. But I'm just telling everybody I'm not going to sit back and go, oh, no, this is going to be a completely polished game, 100%. Nah, not this size, not this scope. Excuse me, no way in hell do I think this is going to come out bug-free or like a Naughty Dog game where you don't expect anything to go wrong. There's going to be some stuff with this. This is a Bethesda title. So, but they do need to clean it up. They do need to get it at a stable 30, and I hope at a close to stable 60 with a lower res type of performance mode. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, Mav, that went by fast, brother. I know we started a half hour early, but bro, we nailed that. Man, we didn't even cover we got through some games, but not even close to the amount of games that we got out there.
I wanted to go a half hour on Forza Motorsport.
Right. We got to talk about that. Look, this is great. We're going to have more content coming up next PM in the PM, Xbox Ultimate. We're going to have plenty of content to talk about for the coming weeks here. Got a lot to dive into. We're still getting some announcements and some releases like we did today with Square and obviously Capcom and Dragon's Dogma. So this stuff's going to trickle out. It's that time of the year, folks. And then the games start dropping, right? The games are going to start hitting. We're going to have a ton to play. We got TMNT tonight. Mav streaming tonight. And I'll be hopping in for a bit. Steel will be in there. We're going to have the whole crew together playing some TMNT. So that's going to be an absolute blast. But man, that's a big W for Xbox. They don't even realize how big that is. That should have been on the main stage. TMT is going to take over, bro. It plays so well. But Mav, tell everybody where they can find you. Let's get you out of here, brother. What's going on?
Hey, right here, Fun Speculation, going to be streaming tonight. I got to run an errand, and then I'll be back and going live with some TMNT tonight. We're going to be having some fun with some fam, playing online. Probably going to have 6 players, I would assume. It's going to be a blast. We'll see who gets who. But guys, I appreciate it everybody being here. Tomorrow night's Xbox Ultimate Podcast tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to dive in and kind of go through a bunch of the different games we saw from Xbox at the showcase, our first real opportunity to really dig into that. It's going to be a blast. And then coming back on Monday for FSP, and Wednesday Fun Pop will be back. Got a lot to catch up on Fun Pop next week. It's going to be a great time. Man, Obi-Wan Kenobi last episode was insane. A lot of people will be happy that have had issues in the past with some of the other episodes, but it's been real, guys. Thank you so much. Pong Soul, where can everybody find you, sir?
Hey, everybody, it was amazing chat. You were absolutely incredible again. I know everybody's fired up. It's that time of the year. Glad to see all the familiar faces. Again, please, if you got the opportunity, keep Lupa in your thoughts, prayers, send energy, whatever you do personally. I don't care. Please take a moment and do that. We want to get her back, you know, and she needs it right now. So please do that. Assassin Lupa is just an amazing human being on top of being a part of this family and somebody I call a friend. And we all do here, and a lot of people do in the community. So please do keep that in mind as we head into the weekend. Each day, just take a little time. Otherwise, love you all. Nothing but respect. This was an absolute blast. This flew by. We got a lot to talk about, like Mav said, that we didn't even come close to touching.
Maybe more thoughts tonight when we're playing TMT.
Yeah, maybe more thoughts tonight when we're doing TMT. But yeah, Relic, the gore. I was missing the gore as well. Yeah. Hopefully they're going to add that in. Like I said, give me Fallout. I need Fallout gore. Shotgun Blast has got to, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can find me Pong Soul on Xbox, on Twitter. You guys know the drill there. Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. Living split screen Saturday morning. Steel has not had the chance that Mav and I had to talk all this week. He's been on a couple shows, but not like we have. So he's going to have a lot to say Saturday morning. Be there, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time, BST time, whatever you want to talk, whatever you want to call it. We will be there getting you up on your Saturday morning. So please, please drop in there, share it out, tell a friend. We're on mission 1K. We're going to have a great Saturday morning on our living split screen. Saturday night, the Shot Podcast, PTK Blam's channel. Fuzzy's back from LA. He was in Fan Fest. We're going to have probably stories from him. We're going to probably talk some of the show. We're going to talk about probably Starfield there as well. Drop on in. Saturday night, PTK Blam's channel, The Shop, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Listen, it's been wonderful. This is the golden age of gaming, folks. I am not tired talking. Even though it was nice to get a break earlier this week, but still last week I was energized through every single show. You can tell I'm even more energized now than when I started the show. I love this stuff. This is the best. It is the golden age of gaming, people. It is. I can't prove it to you anymore. It's all here in front of you. So get out there, play what you love what you play, and we will be talking to you real soon. Have a great night, everybody, and a great freaking weekend. Mav, get us out of here.
Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Bye.